Blood stains the cavern floor as Jeong-gyeom leads his team deeper into the shadows. Their footsteps echo ominously through the abandoned mine, each step bringing them closer to something terrible. The sturdy man in the brown vest follows closely, alongside two women whose faces betray growing unease. When the dark-haired young man looks up, his startled expression confirms their worst fears. They've found what they were looking for, and it's worse than they imagined. Trapped in the dimly lit cavern, the dark-haired young man voices everyone's frustration. They'll be stuck here all day at this rate. The girl in the cowgirl hat and the man in the dark coat listen as he mentions calling for help. But when he produces a small, fluffy creature, their tension momentarily breaks. The adorable pup sniffs the air, detecting something approaching fast. Despite the creature's alert, the young man downplays the speed of their incoming friend. The debate intensifies as the sharp-featured young man insists dwarves aren't to blame for their predicament. The light-haired woman in glasses, cradling her small dog, suggests the culprit must be a monster. Suddenly, a new voice cuts through their discussion with a confident declaration. The phrase triggers immediate action. A bright blue energy ball launches through the air with explosive force, illuminating the mystical surroundings before colliding with something unseen. A loud clanking noise shatters the darkness, making the tousled-haired young man gasp in shock about detecting flying spears. The calm blonde woman in the brown fedora confidently offers to handle the situation while her companion grips a glowing green stone, anxiety written across his face. As a bone-chilling screech echoes closer, the dark-haired character suggests they avoid pursuing whatever lurks ahead. Their mission isn't to engage monsters, but monsters might have other plans. Despite the growing danger, the round-faced character in the teal jacket urges them to proceed as normal, maintaining his composure. The stocky man in the brown vest expresses amazement at their companion's incredible abilities. But when the dark-haired scout sniffs the air, his report chills everyone to the bone. He smells musty breath and blood. As they dash forward with urgency, a menacing figure emerges from the shadows, grinning with blood on his clothes. The girl in the wide-brimmed hat gasps at the horrific scene before her. A young man lies bleeding heavily, deep cuts marking his face. The dark-haired boy urgently assesses the victim's condition, demanding immediate treatment while questioning if a monster caused the injuries. As he prepares to open a portal for help, danger strikes again. Something approaches fast, prompting the calm, light-haired boy to step forward, ready to handle this new threat himself. The white-haired woman steps cautiously across the rugged terrain, each footfall echoing in the tense silence. But lurking in the shadows, something far more dangerous stalks forward with heavy, menacing steps. A monstrous creature with yellow skin and burning red eyes suddenly screeches and lunges forward. The powerful blow lands with devastating force, followed by a radiant green explosion that lights up the darkness as she prepares to face the beast. Ominous red lights streak through the night sky as metal clinks against the stillness. The elf-like young man with pointed ears and silver hair watches with intense concentration, his worried expression deepening with each passing moment. A distant thud makes him question his memories. Was the threat really as big as he remembered? Meanwhile, a healer rushes forward with urgent news about a patient in desperate condition, as an injured character's eye slowly blinks open. The muscular man with wild brown hair jolts awake, his eyes wide with shock as he processes his surroundings. 5 concerned faces surround him. The girl in the blue top and hat offers reassurance while others look on with worry. She explains that he's in a safe space created by her ability, rescued from a collapsed mine. Though confused and fearful about the monster, his panic subsides when she calmly states she killed it. The mention of an elf still startles him, but relief gradually replaces terror. In the brightly lit sanctuary, Ely introduces herself with elven grace, the chancellor of the elves, her pointed ears and pale hair marking her otherworldly nature. The muscular, bearded man responds with disbelief, questioning why she would work alongside humans. When the friendly man in the vest asks about Gordon, Ely's expression darkens with concern. She confirms what they feared most. There is indeed another monster, similar to the one already slain. The atmosphere grows electric with tension as the group processes this devastating revelation. The stocky man with short black hair appears confused and anxious, unable to comprehend what he's hearing. Behind them, an ominous shadow looms as Gordon's name hangs in the air like a death sentence. The desperate man with glasses reaches out, golden energy enveloping him as the horrible truth crashes down. The sound of impact echoes their collective shock. Chaos erupts as a monstrous creature roars in agony, its gaping maw revealing rows of deadly teeth. The yellow, bulky beast lunges forward, surrounded by flickering red lights that dance ominously in the darkness. Two men, one tall and blonde, the other shorter with brown hair, run frantically through the menacing environment. The blonde man shouts desperate instructions as the sounds of chomping and crunching echo behind them, death snapping at their heels. In the relative safety of the dwarven warehouse, Sheriff Brock watches over the recovering Gordon with steady resolve. The wild-haired man expresses gratitude for being alive as Brock explains their sanctuary, one of the warehouses the dwarves use, operating on a different level than the mining operations above. Gordon's relief is palpable, but questions burn in his eyes. What was that monster? And what's truly happening in this cursed place? The two men engage in a grim analysis of their monstrous threat. Gordon, his muscular frame bearing the wounds of recent trauma, listens as Sheriff Brock outlines the horrifying truth. The monster's obsession with mana and enchant stones led it to devour the dead, consuming the magical stones they carried. This feast of death and magic drove the creature completely insane, explaining its erratic and savage behavior. The stocky sheriff reflects on the monster's incredible speed, wondering if the scruffy young man might be a speedster. When the green-clad youth denies any special abilities, Brock attempts to lighten the mood by offering food from his pockets. The young man declines, uninterested in sustenance while danger lurks nearby. Brock tries to distract with childhood stories, but the atmosphere remains heavy with unspoken dread. In the dark cavern, the tall blond man sits in complete despair, his rugged frame slumped in hopelessness. His athletic gear tells the story of someone who's endured far too much. The brown-haired man approaches with concern, witnessing his companion's breakdown. When the blond man murmurs Brock's name, a moment of desperate connection sparks. Suddenly, something shifts in his expression. A dangerous idea takes root. He announces he has a plan. Gordon sits in the dimly lit warehouse, his wild eyes filled with a terrifying determination. He declares his intention to consume enchanted stones and transform himself into a monster, his final gambit for survival. Sheriff Brock listens with growing skepticism, urging Gordon to escape while he handles the threat outside. But Gordon's smirk reveals a man who's found twisted satisfaction in this desperate revelation, believing it's better than any story of hope. The conversation turns darker as Brock desperately tries to reason with Gordon about his reckless plan. The bearded sheriff emphasizes the impossibility of return. Once transformed, Gordon will become nothing but a mindless monster. The weight of consuming countless enchanted stones, the permanence of the change, the loss of humanity itself. Gordon, looking increasingly despondent, suggests the unthinkable. One of them should sacrifice themselves for the other's survival. Brock tries to find dark humor in their situation, suggesting that while the meat will be tough, at least Gordon will survive. But Gordon questions the sheriff's sanity, refusing to accept this twisted, heroic gesture. As tensions escalate, Gordon reveals a haunting truth from his past. He lost someone before arriving at this hellish place. The revelation hangs in the air as a monstrous growl echoes nearby, reminding them that death stalks ever closer. The blond man's despair deepens as he recounts a traumatic memory. Someone held him back from facing monsters in what he thought would be his final battle. He speaks of a friend who saved his life, and the crushing guilt of feeling that sacrifice was wasted. His voice breaks as he confesses how much he misses his family, how the weight of survival has become unbearable. The dark-haired man listens with growing concern. Gordon's resolve hardens as he makes his final plea to Brock. This transformation is the last thing he wants to do for himself, a final act of agency in a world gone mad. The stern sheriff warns that using the stones in their raw form will kill Gordon before any transformation can occur. But Gordon's determination is absolute. He asks Brock to grind down the enchanted stones, and as light emerges behind him, the die is cast. In the cluttered, shadow-filled space, Gordon grips the glowing magical stone as metallic sounds echo around them. His muscular frame trembles with the weight of his decision as he makes one final request of Brock. If he survives the transformation but remains alive as a monster, he begs the sheriff to eventually end his suffering. It was Gordon's choice not to become a monster, but now he sees no other path to survival. Gordon's voice cracks with despair as he admits he doesn't want to continue living as a monster. The young man with long brown hair responds with a shaky promise, understanding the horrible burden being placed upon him. As the conversation fades to darkness, urgency suddenly takes over. The young man makes his escape, his footsteps echoing with panic as pink light sparkles ominously beneath his feet, hinting at supernatural forces at work. Horror strikes as the muscular man realizes his terrible mistake. He should have seen this coming. A monstrous creature lunges at him, its rows of razor-sharp teeth gleaming in the darkness. The creature grabs him with devastating force before slamming down with earth-shaking impact. In his desperation, the man calls out Gordon's name, only to be answered by a menacing figure with an eerie green eye and sharp features. Gordon attacks with terrifying ferocity, his transformed features twisted by shadow and rage. A voiceover reveals the bitter truth. Someone directed Gordon to this fate, and they can hardly believe the horror they've unleashed. Back in the warehouse, the shocked group processes what they're witnessing. The man in the brown vest, the anxious woman in pink, and the confident woman in the cowboy hat all stand frozen in disbelief. The muscular, bearded man's tragic story unfolds. He became a monster to fight another monster, but never wanted to live as one. The young man in the light blue shirt listens with deep empathy, offering to help Gordon find the peace he desperately seeks. Ely, the elven chancellor, is the only one strong enough to face Gordon in combat. As they discuss crafting enchant stones, the reality sets in that conventional weapons barely scratch the transformed Gordon. In his high-tech workshop, Jeong-gyeom contemplates his weapon upgrade strategy. He reflects on the obvious choice, guns and ammunition, specifically pistols for their portability despite lacking the firepower of rifles. But confusion strikes when he discovers he has no durability enchant stones. Suddenly, the pistol emits a mystical blue glow, and he mutters about his luck. The weapon may only fire one round, but he has an infinite supply of ammunition. In the bright training room, Jeong-gyeom commands his team to begin marksmanship training, determined to maximize their unlimited supplies. His confident demeanor radiates authority as he points decisively. But Dong-gwan appears hesitant, his worried expression betraying inner turmoil as he asks permission to express his wishes. When Jeong-gyeom insists the training is too dangerous, Dong-gwan's plea becomes personal. He wants to be the one to send off his friend. Victor agrees to the dangerous mission, but only on one condition. The scene shifts to the frightened man carrying a child through the ominous mine, their careful steps echoing in the darkness. As they navigate the jagged rock formations, haunting thoughts plague him. Would Gordon have survived if they hadn't ventured into this cursed place? Would he have been brave enough to enter the mine again? In the shadowy space, the muscular man grips his pistol tightly, tormented by questions of survival and fate. A small, fluffy white dog sniffs nearby, a poignant reminder of Gordon's humanity. The man's regret is overwhelming as he apologizes to Gordon for the torment he caused. He confesses his cowardice, telling Gordon to live while he himself fled from fear. Now he's returned to bid his friend farewell, carrying the weight of his failures. The hulking creature with yellow skin and burning blue eyes lunges forward with terrifying speed, creating a whooshing sound as it moves. The serious man with the gun looks intently at the approaching monster, while companions watch anxiously from behind. He speaks with grim determination. The only way to make amends is to ensure Gordon doesn't spend another cursed minute as a monster. A powerful beam erupts, followed by an explosion that radiates outward. Two vivid blue gems clink together in the darkness, their gentle sound echoing like a solemn bell. Light cascades down as the narrator's voice breaks the silence with a heartfelt farewell. Goodbye, Gordon, my dear friend. Golden petals drift through the scene, carried by an unseen wind. The contrasting darkness and light amplify the emotional weight of this final tribute, a moment of peace after so much violence and pain. The workshop echoes with the sounds of metal on metal as the orange-haired craftsman works with intense focus, sparks flying from his tools. His stout frame moves with practiced precision in the cluttered space. The scene transitions to a graveyard at sunset, where Gordon's tombstone stands as a testament to his life, beloved father, husband, and friend. Victor kneels beside the grave, his expression heavy with emotion as soft light bathes the peaceful scene. Gordon receives a comforting pat on the back from his bearded companion, a moment of solidarity amid their shared grief. In the cemetery, three figures move through the fading light of day, the sun casting dramatic shadows across their path. A woman with long hair kneels before a grave, contemplating an object while others maintain respectful distance. The word "finish" marks a moment of completion before revealing the glowing blue conqueror's stone. The rugged man with bright blue eyes holds the shimmering conqueror's stone with excitement, explaining its incredible power. It allows control over the guardians. The curious woman in the tan hat asks about these mysterious protectors, while the serious man in black listens intently. The bearded guide explains that guardians are golems watching over designated territory. When someone questions how giant creatures could be contained in a mine, the stone suddenly pulses with energy, and an ominous rumble shakes the cavern. The blonde elf with green eyes expresses concern as the guardian begins to move, the rumbling growing stronger with each passing second. He suggests they head toward the source to investigate the disturbance themselves. Moving cautiously through the shadowy cavern, their footsteps echo ominously. When they approach the source of the sound, a brilliant flash of light suddenly illuminates the darkness, causing one character to exclaim in amazement at the blinding radiance. Four imposing armored guardians stand in the blue-lit cavern, their sleek designs and glowing visors creating an intimidating presence. Each heavy step produces a resonating stomp that echoes through the chamber. The curious black-haired boy examines these mechanical protectors, commenting on their gaunt appearance while the stout companion observes cautiously. Scattered mana stones tell the story of past conflicts, countless magical artifacts buried throughout the shallow mining paths. Walking through the eerily lit corridor, the young woman with short blonde hair voices her growing suspicions about their surroundings. She believes this place was deliberately designed to maximize danger and encourage violence, a competition where people kill each other. The dark-haired man questions whether similar locations exist across the country. As they contemplate the existence of invaders and discuss the intentions of the 1%, the atmosphere grows heavy with impending dread. The rugged man with the grizzled beard enthusiastically presents the blue gemstone to Jeong-gyeom, encouraging the young man to try wielding its power. Jeong-gyeom appears puzzled and uncertain about how to use such an artifact. The bearded guide reassures him that simply holding the conqueror's stone will allow him to command the guardians. A rumbling sound reverberates through the cavern as the mechanical protectors respond. A massive guardian looms closer, its glowing blue eyes suggesting both power and menace. The blonde elf appears puzzled as he questions why the guardians stopped moving after he ordered them to leave the mine and pursue monsters. His shorter companion explains that the mechanical protectors cannot act outside their designated territories, a critical limitation to their power. In a generous gesture, the elf offers Jeong-gyeom all the mana and enchant stones, stating he has no desire for rewards from this cursed mine. Jeong-gyeom appears shocked by such unexpected generosity. The middle-aged man in the brown vest speaks passionately about taking action against looming threats, gesturing animatedly as he expresses his belief in making significant changes. The younger man shows uncertainty about executing such ambitious plans. Suddenly, brilliant blue energy explodes through the cavern, creating a dazzling light show. Jeong-gyeom reacts with wide-eyed shock as a glowing interface reveals he's gained a massive fortune in mana stones, far beyond his expectations. The young woman with short blonde hair questions the man about his earlier warning regarding the ICC fostering invaders. He explains the organization's true goal, creating winners and losers while rewarding primal desires for strength. This process is designed to awaken people for conquest across territories, potentially triggering massive conflicts between powerful forces. The dark-haired boy listens intently, holding his glowing blue object as the man warns of countless deaths if another war erupts. Jeong-gyeom declares with unwavering confidence that he will stop the fighting, the glowing blue gemstone buzzing with power in his hands. The rugged man responds with surprised laughter, struggling to determine if the young man is joking. The stocky man in the brown vest raises an eyebrow in confusion, questioning how Jeong-gyeom can be serious about facing hundreds of powered individuals with only half a dozen allies. But Jeong-gyeom's determined expression proves he's deadly serious about this impossible challenge. Jeong-gyeom realizes he hasn't fully explained the depth of his abilities, sweat beading on his forehead as he prepares his revelation. In the background, an armored figure with glowing red eyes stands menacingly, flanked by shadowy warriors. The armored commander declares that while his army may be small compared to their enemies, every single fighter represents the elite of elites. Ominous footsteps echo through the cavern as a silhouetted figure watches intently, suggesting this confrontation will be unlike anything they've faced. The middle-aged man breaks down emotionally, tears streaming down his face as he processes the unexpected situation unfolding before him. The younger man with slick-back hair suggests they need a manager to handle the terrible mess they've created, believing Dongguan is perfect for the role. As a notification pops up offering membership to PAX FC, the absurdity of the moment is highlighted by a plate of jjajangmyeon appearing with a loud sound effect. In the steam-filled dining room, the man in the brown vest looks startled as the enthusiastic younger man presents a feast with a triumphant "tada." The contrast between the older man's serious demeanor and the youth's eagerness creates palpable tension. As delicious dishes surround them, the younger man suggests tasting the food before making any decisions about the offer. The older man appears deeply conflicted, his expression drooping with the weight of his contemplations. The round-faced man slurps his meal with satisfaction, finding brief comfort in the simple pleasure of food. Beside him, another character sweats with worry, clearly troubled by weightier concerns. At a different table, two men sit in contemplation, the rugged one and the young man in the navy shirt. The atmosphere grows tense as the young man attempts to explain the need to stop the fighting, referencing how those in power encourage violence for their own purposes. The blonde elf with pointed ears expresses grave concern about a potential conflict that could have dire consequences for the entire world. The distinguished military man responds thoughtfully, but admits uncertainty about current intelligence on the opposing forces. He emphasizes the critical need to gather detailed information about enemy capabilities before formulating any strategic plans. Suddenly, an armored figure enters, creating surprise and tension as someone questions whether something has gone wrong. The disheveled military man sits in confusion and disbelief, tears marking his cheeks from recent emotional turmoil. The imposing armored figure with striking red eyes states his purpose. He has come seeking tutelage from Sir Yu. The man's bewilderment is complete as he stammers in response, unable to comprehend why such a formidable warrior would seek his guidance. Despite his self-doubt, the armored figure insists on the man's worthiness for this role. In the weapon-filled room, the serious man discusses their master's solution to their pressing problem while gesturing toward displays of various armaments. The younger man initially misunderstands, thinking they're discussing gun usage, but quickly learns they're focusing on advanced tactics and strategy instead. As their conversation unfolds, a figure in shiny armor emerges in the background, signifying the gravity of their situation and the transformation they must undergo to survive what's coming. The tension crackles through the military briefing room as our protagonist steps forward, his confidence suddenly blazing like wildfire. Gone is the uncertain young man. In his place stands someone who knows exactly what he brings to the table. He declares his readiness for the Camelot Special Forces, his voice carrying a weight that makes even seasoned officers take notice. A very particular set of skills, he promises them. But what skills could transform someone so completely? The woman watching can barely believe the transformation, from hesitant to commanding in mere moments. In the quiet strategy room, the blonde elf with pointed ears discusses military enhancements with thoughtful precision. His companion listens intently as they plan the strengthening of their forces. The training regimen is already underway, knights diving headfirst into intensive preparation. There's a bittersweet moment as the man admits his most reliable ally won't be by his side for a while. But duty calls, and focus is everything now. As abilities shimmer in holographic displays around them, the weight of preparation settles like armor on their shoulders. Jeong-gyeom studies his holographic skill tree with the intensity of a chess master planning 20 moves ahead. Portal-to-portal shipping catches his eye, useful but not exactly combat-ready. The review system features scroll endlessly before him, each line of text another possibility, another tool in his growing arsenal. His muscular companion watches patiently as Jeong-gyeom processes the overwhelming information. Too much to read, he mutters, but his eyes never leave the display. Every skill unlocked is another step closer to survival. The workshop hums with the warmth of friendship and innovation. The older man beams as he asks how his friend is enjoying the parallel dimension. A question that should have been asked ages ago comes the sarcastic reply. They discuss the automated rotisserie grill with the easy banter of old companions. But when robots enter the conversation, the mood shifts to playful competition. Can he make them? It depends, the older man grins. The cool ones from movies, absolutely. Their technical banter fills the stone-walled room with possibility. The teasing cuts deep, so he's not good enough to build robots. The challenge hangs in the air like a thrown gauntlet. Energy crackles as someone steps forward with commanding presence, a small creature perched on their shoulder like a living badge of authority. Building robots isn't impossible, just time-consuming, they declare with quiet confidence. Getting James on board, successful. Next target, Dong-Hwan. But he's still eating. Even in this militarized facility, some things never change. Priorities, after all. Under the pale moon's gaze, the graveyard holds its breath. The muscular man with the sandy blonde beard stands contemplative among the tombstones, lost in thought until footsteps shatter the silence. Jeong-gyeom emerges from the shadows, relief flooding his features. 2 hours of searching the mine, wandering in circles, before thinking to check this somber place. The reunion is quiet but meaningful. Sometimes the living are harder to find than the dead. The moonlight casts long shadows between them, highlighting the weight of unspoken concerns. In the graveyard's embrace, 2 men discuss the weight of requests and timing. The bearded giant offers crafting services, his arms folded with casual confidence. But timing is everything. Now isn't right for what Jeong-gyeom needs. The offer of inclusion in the parallel dimension hangs between them like an unspoken promise. Later, alone with his sketching, tension bleeds through every scratch of the pencil. His mechanical designs take shape on paper, each line drawn with the focus of someone who knows lives depend on getting it right. The workshop buzzes with focused energy as the blonde craftsman sketches with mechanical precision. A curious child watches with wide eyes, innocence meeting expertise. But the conversation quickly turns to weightier matters, reinforcements for the war in America. The request hangs heavy in the air, impossible to ignore. Would it be too difficult? Never comes the immediate response. Loyalty runs deeper than oceans when it comes to Jeong-gyeom's requests. The corridor ahead stretches like a path toward inevitable conflict. Reality hits like a cold wave. Not many will step forward to help. The young man's worry is written across his features as he voices the hard truth. Why would they? The muscular companion explains the brutal logic. Portals protect their immediate areas, but beyond that range, they need awakened fighters. And if those fighters had to choose between helping Korea or America, wouldn't they choose their homeland first? The realization dawns with uncomfortable clarity. Behind them, the shadow of monsters looms as a reminder of what's at stake. The high-tech command center hums with urgency as they discuss Korea's dire situation. Within 1,500 yards of each portal, the system terminates threats automatically. But beyond that protective bubble, chaos reigns supreme. The muscular man speaks with pragmatic honesty. He wouldn't help either if he were in their shoes. The landscape illustrations tell the story. Energy orbs scattered among fallen combatants, a testament to battles fought and lost. Sometimes the most honest assessment is the most brutal one. The lab's holographic interface glows with possibility and limitation in equal measure. Should he ask James for an automated killer drone? No, pride was provoked, bridges were burned. The shipping distance restriction mocks his ambitions, tied forever to the parallel dimension's rules. His skills shimmer before him like tools in a cosmic workshop, each one demanding careful consideration. The lab isn't the answer, but somewhere in these abilities lies the key to survival. He just has to find it before time runs out. In the device's glow, certainty meets confusion. The hooded figure nods with confidence. Yes, they need a review system established immediately. His companion stares at the phone displaying emergency numbers, 112 and 119. One for emergencies, the other for support. The explanation comes. Simple, effective, but trust is a fragile thing in their world. Other voices whisper doubts about reliability, about putting faith in systems, and people who might not deliver when it matters most. The tension coils tighter with each skeptical word. The portal range question cuts to the heart of everything. Doesn't it only work around the portals themselves? No, now help can reach beyond those boundaries faster than ever before. The possibility of joining Pax FC dangles like salvation in front of desperate eyes, if that's true, but hope shatters in an instant. Byung-woo, the scream tears through the air. The monstrous figure looms behind and blood spatters the ground with a sickening crunch. Sometimes hope arrives too late. Byung-woo's face betrays the weight of impossible decisions. The Drake moves in packs. They might already be surrounded, invisible predators closing in from all sides. His companion's panic is palpable, hands trembling as reality crashes down. "I'll get him out and press that rescue button," Byung-woo declares, but uncertainty bleeds through his determination. What are you going to do? The question hangs unanswered. Sometimes you have to act without knowing if you'll succeed. Sometimes action is all you have left. The grotesque drake towers over its prey, scales gleaming with malevolent intent. A bloodied hand clutches the phone, salvation reduced to a desperate grip on plastic and circuits. The alarm pierces the air. SKRE. More of them, always more. The teenage girl grips her hammer with determination that defies her years, while terror etches itself across the man behind her. The cries of other drakes echo through the streets. A pack is never just one. The zoom effect signals movement, fight or flight, and both options lead to hell. Defense mode activated. The hooded figure grips his weapon, shock written across his masked features. His messy-haired companion stares in wide-eyed disbelief as the impossible unfolds. Then a pink blur slices through the air, electric sparks trailing like fallen stars. The dart launches with precision born of desperation. And then the world explodes. Blast. The confrontation erupts in light and violence, chaos consuming everything in its path. When gods of war descend, even the prepared are caught off guard. Level 6 unlocks new worlds of possibility, portal-to-portal shipping, the ability to traverse dimensions without the usual restrictions. 10,000 mana stones well spent. The young man explains with growing excitement how he can now take orders from the parallel dimension, automate shipments, configure customer requests. The visual targets shimmer before him, each one representing potential profit and power. Products and customers await. But with great power comes great complexity, and great opportunity for those brave enough to seize it. Byung-woo listens with the intensity of someone whose life depends on understanding every detail. The interface diagrams flow like technical poetry, arrows showing the path from order to delivery. But can you track the targets? The location data comes embedded in review messages, the explanation flows simply. Understanding dawns across his face. The emergency numbers glow on the device, 112, 119, preset and ready. The message launches with a soft glow, carrying coordinates and hope into the digital ether. The determined girl in the pink hoodie receives the notification Paxman is moving out. She dashes through the urban landscape, her small companion hopping beside her with boundless energy. The building comes into focus, second floor, she points with urgent certainty. Everything needs manual coordination, no automated systems to rely on. The distance is manageable, hope within reach. But that screeching sound, SKRE, cuts through her confidence like a blade through silk. Danger never rests. The hooded figure stands defensive as Drake cries echo through the chaos. His companion recoils in shock as the pink-clad fighter streaks through electrified air. Zoom, dart, blast. Each sound effect punctuates another moment of impossible action. The scene shifts abruptly from street combat to sterile hospital room, where concerned faces gather around a wounded figure on pristine sheets. The contrast is jarring, violence to vulnerability in mere heartbeats. Some battles end in beds, not graves. 3 days of contemplation in the dimly lit workshop. The blonde craftsman watches his companion work with unwavering dedication, crafting except for eating, sleeping, and bathroom breaks. The obsession is complete, total, beautiful in its purity. How can someone love their craft so much? The question haunts him as he rests his chin in his hand. Maybe he's lost that fire, that consuming passion that once drove him to create. The realization cuts deeper than any blade. When did the love die? Passion reignites like a furnace roaring back to life. The rugged craftsman speaks of feeling the thrill again, of creating what he truly desires. The enchanted stone glows in his weathered hands, its beauty drawing gasps of admiration from his clean-faced companion. 3 days since the emergency call system launched, and now this, a thing of beauty that will grant them new powers. The weapons gleam ominously in the background, a reminder that beauty and destruction often walk hand in hand. Creation is about to meet its purpose. Intelligence gathering the old-fashioned way, with boots on the ground and eyes wide open. The 3 men discuss their mission parameters in the sparse command area, equipment scattered around them like the tools of desperate times. Preparation is everything when you're walking blind into enemy territory. The shovel comment draws dark chuckles. Sometimes the simplest tools provide the most comfort. But when the enchanted knife shatters with a sharp FSHHH, confusion spreads like wildfire. Not just any item will do. The bearded craftsman gestures with animated authority, explaining the requirements for true enchantment. Items need special powers, or they need to be crafted by dwarven hands. There's no middle ground. Understanding dawns in the young man's thoughtful frown. Then Jeong-gyeom enters with nervous energy, a small child at his side, concern etched in every line of his face. The mine incident still weighs on him. Dongguan smirks as he hands over the firearm with a solid clunk. The question burns, how did he acquire such a weapon? The weapon's origins reveal themselves in devastating clarity. Same type used by the meteoroids during their assault, precision targeting, overwhelming force. Confusion breeds understanding as the muscular man explains while his calm companion prepares to test its power. The click echoes with ominous finality. Blue energy builds like captured lightning, raw power made manifest. Then, crash. The demonstration speaks louder than any explanation. This isn't just a weapon. It's a statement of intent, written in light and thunder. The weapon's power display leaves everyone speechless. Significant firepower that shoots without loading, the impossibility made real. Dwarven craftsmanship, the bearded man explains, gesturing at the blue light show. Few races possess such skill, such artistry in death-dealing. But the young man's anxiety grows as understanding dawns. If the southern forces possess this weapon, if dwarves were forced to craft under duress, the implications spread like poison through his thoughts. War isn't just about human against human anymore. It's about the corruption of creation itself. The alliance grows stronger, more dangerous with each passing day. The concerned man leans forward, urgency driving his words as he explains the scrivener's expanding influence. Arizona's mind seems so far from their base, yet here they are, sniffing around like predators following a scent trail. His confident companion mentions Chicago with casual determination, just going there, no grand plans, no elaborate schemes. The devastated cityscape awaits them, ruins speaking of battles already fought and lost. Sometimes the simplest plans are the deadliest. Chicago's ruins tell stories of violence in broken concrete and twisted metal. The green-skinned creature steps forward with predatory grace, red horns gleaming like warning beacons. Its wounds mark previous battles, but it still moves with lethal purpose. The well-dressed man prepares his counterattack, determination etched in his features as he grips his weapon. Each step echoes through the devastation, a countdown to confrontation. In this urban graveyard, only one will walk away. The debris bears witness to what happens when civilizations collide. Battle commands cut through the chaos like blades through flesh. Get in position. The young leader grips his weapon with white-knuckled determination, every muscle coiled for war. The monstrous roar shakes the foundations of their resolve. But training takes over. The fierce woman slams her weapon down with bone-crushing force, blood spattering as it connects. Aim for the head. Strategy meets violence in perfect, terrible harmony. Smash, clang. The sounds of survival echo through the ruins as they fight for their lives. Terror spreads faster than wildfire as the beasts surge forward. Retreat! The woman's command carries the weight of survival instinct, her ponytail whipping as she turns to flee. Matthew's desperate cry cuts through the chaos, "Just save yourself." Sacrifice offered in the face of overwhelming odds. The group flees in panic, faces etched with primal fear as glowing red eyes close in from all sides. Too fast, always too fast. The urban landscape becomes a hunting ground, where humans are no longer the apex predators. The red creature's roar splits the air, kzah. As claws extend for the killing blow, Matthew's scream matches the monster's fury, terror and violence locked in mortal embrace. He spins, seeing death approaching with inevitable certainty. But then, confusion. The blonde-haired man stares in disbelief as creatures collapse around them, PSSH and splash marking their sudden demise. The beasts are falling on their own. What force could bring down such predators without human intervention? Victory, snatched from the jaws of certain death, leaves only questions. From the debris emerge three silhouettes, shadows given form and purpose. The brown-haired observer stares in wonder. Who are they? The red-haired boy counts them with mounting tension, his voice tight with fear and curiosity. Three figures stepping through the battlefield's remains, each footstep echoing with unspoken authority. The sound of metal on metal clunk, done done, as weapons are readied. Someone grips their gun with practiced ease, finger poised over the trigger. Salvation or damnation approaches, and only time will reveal which. The dark-haired woman clutches her arm, shock and fear warring across her features. Skeletons walking around with guns, an Asian figure in the center of it all. The Southern Alliance's scheme materializes like a nightmare made flesh. Do not fear, the ominous voice promises, but fear is exactly what rational minds should feel. When did they get behind us? The question hangs unanswered as the skeletal figure with dual weapons stands ready. Their master only wishes to speak, but some conversations are preludes to execution. The knight in gleaming silver armor surveys the modern battlefield from his elevated position, red cape flowing like spilled blood. His weapon catches the sunlight streaming through the glass windows, creating dramatic patterns on the lobby floor. Below, tension crackles as the suited man bellows, "Huargh," frustration and fury given voice. The armored figure commands halt, with absolute authority. Ancient honor meets modern warfare in a confrontation that will reshape everything. The circular design beneath their feet seems almost ritualistic, as if fate itself drew them to this moment. Horror reaches new depths as the brown-haired man screams for mercy, begging for the nightmare to end. The robot-like figure offers cold comfort, hang on a little longer, everything will be fine. But the man on the ground pleads for death instead, pain driving him beyond reason. The woman with curly hair kneels beside him with calm determination, guiding him through torment while he writhes in agony. Even the masked figure seems unsettled by the display of suffering. Some fates are worse than death. The upscale lounge provides an incongruous setting for desperate negotiations. The tall man gestures to the modest table with apologetic grace, not glamorous, but sufficient for serious conversation. The small boy thanks him with genuine appreciation, while apologies flow for the unannounced intrusion. What sort of conversation indeed? The atmosphere thickens with unspoken tensions as the stern man in dark attire cuts to the heart of the matter. Victors will be treated as invaders by the ICC. The implications hang heavy between them like a sword. Understanding war is easy. Stopping it is another matter entirely. The dark-haired woman adjusts her purple vest, focus replacing earlier distress as she explains the complexity of their situation. The man in navy blue leans forward eagerly. Information is their most precious currency now. She speaks of preventing war while acknowledging their limited intelligence, the frustrating gap between intention and action. The Southern commander looms in their discussion like a shadow given substance. Too much to tell, she warns, and time is running out. The woman in the brown blazer speaks with grim authority about toxic gas abilities, her words carrying the weight of witnessed horrors. The dark-haired boy listens with growing alarm, pieces clicking together in his mind like a puzzle made of nightmares. The muscular figure appears in shadowy vision, surrounded by dark tendrils, a living illustration of the gas's power. Inhaling it forces transformations, strips away free will, turns victims into puppets dancing to a madman's tune. You don't die from the tentacles, she explains coldly, but you might as well be dead. The truth cuts deeper than any blade. They're trapped not by monsters, but by human ambition gone wrong. The muscular man grips his weapon tighter, realization dawning that their enemy wears a human face. The Southern commander's influence spread through manipulation and fear, eliminating opposition with gas attacks that left no room for rebellion. They expected creatures, not a twisted mastermind using his own species as weapons. The shadowy figure emanates purple energy, a visual reminder that some humans become more monstrous than any beast. The muscular leader's command rings out, "Get behind me, everyone," as his weapon flashes with brilliant light. They battled bravely under his guidance, evenly matched against the Southern forces in brutal combat. But now Jintai reveals another piece of the puzzle, a factory seized by enemy forces. Not just any factory, one that spans the contested territories between the warring sides. The dark-haired character's eyes widen in understanding. If it's a weapons factory, the implications hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. The gaunt antagonist's red eyes blaze as energy erupts from his hands crash, the blast consuming everything in its path. Chaos engulfs the battlefield as defenders scramble to retreat, their voices heavy with grief for innocent lives lost. Glenn's plan seemed so simple, stop them from gaining advantage by taking the factory. But plans crumble under the weight of reality, and retreat becomes the only option. The young man in the cap communicates desperately, trying to salvage something from the devastation. Victory has become survival, and even that hangs by a thread. The radio crackles with hard truths as the scarred man reports on the elite mission's outcome. Every detail meticulously planned, but plans mean nothing without resources and manpower. The difficult decision to retreat weighs heavy on every word transmitted. Meanwhile, in the modern space, concern deepens as they discuss the commander's disappearance. The man in the blue vest shakes his head with worry, while the woman maintains composure that barely masks her own fears. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who vanishes into shadows. The dark forest looms like a living nightmare, painted in purples and greens that speak of unnatural things. Many enter, few return, and those who do barely spent 5 minutes inside before stumbling out by sheer luck. The serious man with the compass explains the forest's trap-like nature, how it keeps people wandering in circles until they disappear forever. The woman listens with calm determination despite his warnings. Investigation reports confirm it. There's more than meets the eye in those twisted woods, and she intends to find out what. Frustration explodes like a dam bursting. Were you even listening to me? The woman with the ponytail argues with passionate intensity, her words cutting through stubborn determination. She doesn't know his strength, but the current situation demands recognition of its gravity. Her intention to search regardless of his response hangs in the air like a challenge. The colorful food piles create a surreal backdrop to their heated exchange. A thud echoes ominously, unseen but felt. She realizes too late, letting him go alone might have been a mistake. The man with the ponytail stands before the mountain of colorful fruits, hope and worry warring in his expression. The energy blast's crash echoes his internal turmoil as motorcycle tires screech against asphalt. The rider in white cuts through the landscape with determined precision, helmet reflecting resolve made manifest. The dense forest swallows them whole, branches reaching like grasping fingers. Inside, the masked figure's eyes widen at the forest's oppressive thickness. Sometimes courage looks a lot like riding alone into the darkness. Foggy road stretches ahead like a path to purgatory, city lights barely penetrating the haze. The woman on the motorcycle notes the absence of sunlight, the bleak atmosphere that seems to press down on everything. Her companion in the gas mask struggles with visibility, admitting they'll need to proceed on foot. The tactical suit constrains him, but safety demands sacrifice. "Follow me," he instructs, taking point into the uncertain gloom. Two figures against whatever lurks in the shadows ahead. The dark forest holds its breath as three figures move cautiously through purple-tinged mist. The masked figure senses something approaching, his hooded companion looking back with growing alarm. The elf with braided hair and wide-brimmed hat asks the critical questions: is it strong? Can they defeat it? But the masked figure's confidence cracks as his eyes widen in genuine alarm. "That's impossible," he mutters, but the forest doesn't care about impossibility. Something truly dangerous approaches, and they're about to learn what fear really means. Urgency drives the masked figure forward. We need to run into the fray. But the forest itself responds to their presence. The elf stares in amazement as trees move with unnatural life, branches swaying to some primordial rhythm. I knew this nature energy was familiar, he realizes, pieces of an ancient puzzle clicking into place. An unfamiliar voice cuts through the mystical atmosphere, and the tension spikes. The dark, spiky silhouette emerges with ominous authority as D.U. Dunn marks his arrival. Recognition dawns. So it was you. The horned figure emerges from the mist like a vision from another age, muscular, regal, wearing authority like the dark blue garment draped around his waist. His long black hair frames features both noble and wild. The blond boy identifies him with mixed excitement and respect. Orbeson, one of the legendary figures they've heard about. Confidence meets humility as the boy admits he could fight with fists, but acknowledges his place as the younger one. The hooded figure's earlier words take on new meaning. Some battles are won with respect, not violence. Important information should have been shared sooner. The masked figure's shock is understandable. Elder Findrick awaits them, and relief floods through Jeong-gyeom at the prospect of finally reaching him. So many things to discuss, so many questions demanding answers. The High Elf offers transportation via tree riding, their natural ability to control forest growth. But as they approach the overgrown path, a warning appears. No humans allowed. The white hooded figure commands them to halt with absolute authority. Even Sanctuary has its guards. The forest erupts with philosophical warfare. The purple-skinned elf snarls about humanity's destructive nature. They seek to destroy nature itself. But the girl in the wide-brimmed hat fires back defensively. Not all humans are the same. They owe this very area their lives. The elf's expression shifts from disgust to sudden shock as he bites into a carrot. Then, whoosh, something approaches through the mist. A new presence changes everything. The elf girl with wavy brown hair gasps, "Uncle Obsidian must be back." But he's returning so soon, which means he was right here all along. Elder Findrix, distinguished with his antlers and flowing beard, queries about Ely's arrival with thoughtful anticipation. The atmosphere transforms from tension to curious warmth as they await their unexpected guests. Energy cracks through the air like lightning. A small figure stands bathed in swirling green light, radiating power. Jeong-gyeom, the horned elder, watches with puzzled fascination as his armored companion dashes through the misty forest. But in the background, something darker begins to take shape. A shadowy presence forms, emanating pure menace. The very air trembles with foreboding. The masked figure stands frozen in uncertainty as Jeong-gyeom approaches with casual warmth. "Hello, my name is Jeong-gyeom." The girl in green smirks with amusement while the boy watches with curious apprehension. Before serious discussions begin, Jeong-gyeom suggests the most human thing possible. "Would you like something to eat first?" Even in apocalyptic times, hospitality matters. The scene shifts to boxes scattered on modern ground. Gratitude flows between unlikely allies. The elf-like figure admits he doesn't know how to repay the armored man's assistance. "Don't worry about it," comes the humble reply. They sit on makeshift stone benches, trust building between them. But then comes the pointed question: was there a well-built man who entered this forest 4 days ago? The elf's expression turns serious, processing this inquiry with careful contemplation. A chance encounter that changed everything. The speaker reflects on their stroll, describing a meeting with someone radiating intensity, a powerful will to live. Despite his status as an outsider, curiosity warred with caution. The decision was made to walk past. But then, the cloaked figure spoke fiercely, yet no voice emerged from his throat. Something about his presence demanded attention. Normally, he would have walked right by, but something in those eyes stopped him cold. The dark-haired man slumps against rocky formation, worn and desolate, bearing the weight of unimaginable suffering. The tall, pointed-eared observer gestures with uncertainty. Is this the one they're searching for? War leaves its marks on everyone. Just what has this poor man been through? The truth emerges like poison through the trees. Jeong-gyeom reveals that humans have been attacking this forest ever since this man entered. First came direct assaults, then escalated to spreading poison throughout the sacred woods. The masked figure's defensive behavior finally makes sense: protection against toxic substances. The girl in green observes quietly while the boy watches with growing anxiety about these revelations. What measures? The masked man's curiosity peaks as the elf demonstrates a processed cosmos leaf. "Keep it in your mouth or between your lips," he explains. The leaf can negate harmful gases completely. The masked man attempts to place it in his mouth with a grunt nom. Suddenly his eyes widen in realization as bright light bursts from the leaf. Nature's refreshing power fills him with wonder. "Holy moly! Do you have more of this, elder?" The hooded figure's enthusiasm is infectious, but the wise elder shakes his head regretfully. The processed leaves require cosmos tree sap and beast horn, precious resources from a tree that's now sick. If the tree were healthy, creating more wouldn't be trouble. But these are desperate times with limited gifts to offer. The light-haired man gasps in fearful realization. The cloaked figure stands amid crackling storm energy, confident and commanding. I told you there's much to discuss, right? But it's not just him. These folks were pretty worried, you know. Shadows of other characters loom in the background as panic sets in. Elder Findrix. The concern for their leader's well-being becomes suddenly urgent. Where have you been all this time? The horned elder's surprise explodes into brilliant light as recognition dawns. Shine and gleam burst through the forest as magical energy floods the area. His shock transforms the atmosphere completely. Blue radiance illuminates everything while plant-like entities begin emerging, glowing with mystical life. The very forest responds to this powerful reunion. Precision and care guide the elf's movements as he handles the glowing cosmos leaf. Snip, slice, grind. Each cut deliberate, each motion filled with centuries of knowledge. The leaf radiates ethereal green light as he presents it to the masked man. Here it's a processed cosmos leaf. The system recognizes its value, 1,000 mana stones worth of magical protection. Despite offers of more, the masked man insists one is enough. A system message announces the game-changing item, processed cosmos leaf. The confident character in purple hoodie holds it high while the white wolf-like creature's nose twitches with excitement. Heh, I can smell them. I know where all the goblins are hiding. Preparation meets opportunity as they prepare for action. A glowing portal beckons behind them, time to move out and hold on tight. The bearded artist nibbles thoughtfully on the green candy, his workspace scattered with sketches and tools. The enhancement message wasn't lying. His attributes feel genuinely improved. But humility tempers excitement as he studies his previous work. What he once considered a masterpiece now reveals room for improvement. Growth comes through honest self-assessment, even when enhanced by magical means. Medical miracles unfold in the bright facility. The Mavong tribe can identify cancer patients. The young man's shock is palpable while his companion explains their superior diagnostic methods over traditional techniques. They can literally sniff out diseases, revolutionary medical capabilities that could change everything. But their light-hearted discussion shatters when urgent news arrives. Mr. Glenn Ford has finally woken up. Confusion and panic grip the muscular man as consciousness returns. Just what in the apocalypse is going on? The tracksuit-wearing stranger calmly explains, those pointy ears belong to elves who saved his life. Kate told him about the factory ambush, how he'd been unconscious for 4 whole days. Bewilderment wars with gratitude as the cave's dim walls echo with questions about identity and survival. Gasp! Reality crashes down like a sledgehammer. They're in the great forest right now. Panic surges as the dark-haired man realizes the Southern Alliance could attack at any moment. There's no time for dawdling. Meanwhile, elders observe the chaos with mixed confusion and contemplation, smoke rising in the distance as proof that danger isn't theoretical, it's already here. Intelligence reveals the enemy's cunning strategy. The dark-haired man explains with tense intensity. They discovered Southern forces camped near the factory on a scouting mission. The enemy knew they'd come scouting. Every move was anticipated, every plan compromised. The cave walls seem to close in as the reality of their tactical disadvantage becomes crystal clear. Desperation drives them through urban chaos. The spiky-haired boy sprints alongside his green-shirted companion, buildings towering overhead as KROOM reverberates through the air. Their plan was surgical: sneak in, divide strategy, take over the factory. But shadows move behind windows, and the metallic click of weapons being readied echoes through the streets. Stealth has become survival. A Southern soldier. But why are they here? The muscular man's confusion transforms into terror as energy surges from an unseen source. Whoosh becomes blast as devastating power erupts, debris flying in all directions. Cars flip like toys in the shockwave's wake. What started as a reconnaissance mission has become a battle for survival against forces they barely understand. There's 3, but one is missing. The dark-haired scout's count doesn't match their expectations while the blonde companion questions their accuracy. Are you sure you hit them? Tension mounts as they search the debris-strewn battlefield. A hand grips a weapon with white-knuckled intensity. Pant, pant, hearts race as they realize their enemy might still be out there, hunting them. Strategy crumbles under pressure. The green-shirted man's frustration bleeds through his words as they realize the truth. This was all a diversion for an attack. What a bother, but they have no choice now. Shadows dance across the cave floor as uncertainty grips them. Their careful plans have been anticipated, countered, turned against them. The enemy was always one step ahead. Water splashes around the desperate boy as he braces against impact. The man in the cap glances around anxiously while thud echoes through the urban chaos. Kugh. The boy's strained grunt reveals the pressure he's under. But the South wasted no time chasing him down, relentless pursuit through streets that offer no sanctuary, only the promise of violence. The truth cuts deeper than any blade. They know he entered this forest, and since they never confirmed his death, they'll wipe out the entire forest to be sure. Boom and crash thunder through the cave as the muscular man's worst fears manifest. This is no time to take it easy. They must move quickly before the forest becomes their tomb. They're gonna blast away the whole forest, but the dark-haired man remains oddly calm as explosions boom in the distance. Don't mind me, just get out of here. His companion's shock deepens when he learns the elders are here, wanting to observe the forest. Birds scatter from trees as another blast shakes the earth. Sometimes the most dangerous battles attract the most powerful spectators. Responsibility weighs heavy in the cave's dim light. The dark-haired man insists they should be cautious, while the bearded elder argues for stepping up to help. Age versus duty creates philosophical tension as they debate who should bear the burden of defending their community. The fire's glow reflects their determination, past the age for dirty work perhaps, but never past the age for doing what's right. Sheesh, I'm tired of this conversation. The muscular young man surveys the city from his elevated perch, skyscrapers stretching into the distance. Holy moly, it's like a swarm of ants down there. The pointed-eared elder prepares to leave while offering companionship. Sometimes the best view of chaos comes from above, where individual struggles blur into patterns of survival. Energy blasts create controlled chaos as the muscular man dodges with a grunt. Crash and boom echo through the cave while the suited observer makes a disturbing discovery. This is strange. Before each blast hits the forest, exactly one tree per shot moves with purpose to absorb maximum damage. The trees aren't just defending, they're sacrificing themselves strategically. Should I let them loose already? The dark-haired commander contemplates unleashing his forces when a glowing figure emerges from the poisoned forest. Who's that moron? The bald man radiates energy despite having no protective mask. Such reckless confidence demands immediate action. Carter, send them out. Understanding crystallizes into command as silhouettes bow in acknowledgement. The real battle begins now. Move out the trolls. The panic command pierces the cave's darkness as they press forward. We're pressing forward. Heavy footsteps stomp through water, creating ominous ripples that reflect approaching doom. The monstrous figure reveals itself with glowing eyes and a deafening graaah that shakes the very foundations. What emerges from the depths is far worse than they imagined. The muscular man's impatience reaches its breaking point as he prepares to dash into action. Stomp! His impact shakes the ground while the greenish elder conjures magical energy, serene but focused. I was afraid you'd scatter if I waited from way out. The elder admits with glowing hands. Sometimes the best greeting requires dramatic timing and overwhelming power. How can I ever thank you? Gratitude transforms into violence as the glowing green weapon slashes through the beast's flesh. Blood spatters from savage wounds while sharp teeth and red eyes reveal the creature's monstrous nature. SHLOK marks another devastating strike before Thud signals its fall. The well-dressed observer watches in shock, surrounded by devastation that speaks to power beyond comprehension. Who is this old man who just sliced through 7th-rank elite trolls like paper? The dark-haired commander's composure cracks as reality sets in. Carter, we're retreating. Panic replaces strategy as they search desperately for their escape vehicle. Where's the car? We're all gonna die at this rate. When legends step onto battlefields, even the boldest commanders become frightened children seeking exits. Reminds me of the old days. The glowing elder's skin radiates power as nostalgia fills his voice. Back in my day, I had my way with those fools from Banral. Don't worry one bit, it'll all be over in a blink. But elsewhere, system messages reveal troubling intelligence. Glenn Ford recovering, but Ferrex and Southern Alliance forces surround the factory. The real war is just beginning. The guy wasn't kidding. The woman with dark hair clutches both smartphone and sandwich, processing shocking revelations. Whispered conversations reveal the Earth dimension is next, though none have heard of it before. Is it just a barren wasteland? Uncertainty breeds speculation as figures discuss the unknown realm in hushed, mysterious tones. Some discoveries change everything, others terrify those who make them. Laughter fills the weapon-cluttered workshop as the bearded craftsman jokes about vampire blades and tomboy ego swords. What kind of trials do you think they'll demand this time? His companion worries about ridiculous requests while the blonde colleague shows skepticism. But confidence overrides doubt. There is nothing we can't make. Whisper and clang punctuate their camaraderie amid deadly tools. Shadows loom as the stout man explains energy weapon requirements to his nervous colleagues. These aren't simply disposable tools to use and throw away, he warns with growing intensity. Items carry their own stories, their own dangers. Do you understand? The question hangs heavy as grab indicates someone reaching for something they shouldn't. Some weapons choose their wielders. Hey, what do you think you're doing? The boy's shock echoes through the cave as the sinister figure turns with a cold smirk. Crack fills the air before energy bursts forth. Did you think this was a request? The bearded elder looks on in fear as boom marks the explosion. Some negotiations end before they begin. Power speaks the only language that matters. Mana stones are not the universal language I thought. The hooded figure's authority is absolute as he commands training in listening and obedience. Begin. The grizzled fighter swings his weapon with thwack while crush, smack, and POW fill the cobblestone street. Violence becomes education as shadows engage in brutal lessons. Sometimes understanding requires broken bones. Clang echoes through the workshop as hands grip swords with desperate intensity. The bearded forge master works with sparks flying, his humor contrasting the gravity of their situation. Too slow, you peasants. Don't even think about taking breaks before proving the output we need. His lean companion responds with dark wit about food while metal strikes metal. Productivity demands sacrifice. Frustration boils over as the stout supervisor threatens his gray-haired subordinate. I'll make you stay empty until you die. The warehouse echoes with clang as tensions reach breaking point. You haven't even met last week's quota and you want rest. How long has it been since they've known anything but endless labor? Time becomes meaningless when survival depends on meeting impossible demands. Dark tea to combat drowsiness, small comforts in hellish conditions. But boom interrupts their quiet moment as the blonde boy rushes to investigate. What's that sound coming from outside? His shock transforms into joy as he processes what he sees. Hey, you guys. I think these bastards have been defeated. Hope arrives like thunder, unexpected and potentially life-changing. Finally, we can rest. The grizzled veteran's relief is palpable, but his younger companion's wisdom cuts deeper. It doesn't matter if they lost, nothing's going to change. New victors will abuse them the same, discard them like trash when finished. The tavern's dim atmosphere mirrors their despair as they contemplate a future where oppression simply changes faces. It's all or nothing now. The bearded leader rallies his workshop companions with desperate conviction. Let's meet the new hell face to face and make our decision. If these new rulers are like the previous ones, they'll treat workers like dogs. The sandy-haired colleague shows skepticism, but determination overrides doubt. Don't worry, I will do the talking. Sweat beads on the stout man's forehead as anxiety grips him. His thick beard frames a face twisted with nervous energy while the gray-haired elder watches with sharp, unreadable eyes. Are you sure about this? Shouldn't we go back while we still can? But leadership demands sacrifice. Just shut up and let me handle it. The dagger on the ground reflects their dangerous gamble. Are you folks the new owners of this factory? The gray-jacketed young man looks anxious, the fluffy creature on his shoulder sensing tension. The bearded figure with red headband demands guarantees about 100-hour work weeks while others loom behind him. Why is he so mad? Did I do something? Sometimes first impressions determine whether conversations become negotiations or ultimatums. Can you guarantee us a day off? The gruff man's demands escalate as he seeks at least one monthly rest day. His fierce expression reveals months of desperation while the bespectacled colleague shows visible concern. Last question. Others try stopping him, but desperation drives him forward. Then comes the crushing finale. They want to be paid with food. Basic survival has become their highest aspiration. Understanding dawns as the tall man realizes their anger was rooted in desperation, not malice. It must be fresh, okay? The bearded figure shows urgency while others grip him with mixed fear and eagerness. ACK, I got his mouth. One character streams tears, overwhelmed by the emotional weight of their survival struggles. MMMPH. Sometimes the most important conversations happen through actions, not words. The stout man's panic reaches its peak. He needs to answer them but fears he might burst into tears. His three colleagues sit in matching blue jackets, anxiety etched in every line of their faces. I'll get straight to the point. For now, just follow me. But defeat weighs heavy as he lies on the ground, muttering about being screwed. He looks irate and they have no way back. A crushing debt of $3,000 weighs down like a death sentence. But in the shared sleeping quarters, exhaustion finally claims them both. The young man and his bearded companion rest beside each other, finding brief peace in slumber. Then a voice cuts through their dreams like a blade. Please get up, everyone. The bearded man jolts awake, confusion and panic etched across his face as harsh light floods the room. Terror strikes like lightning. The bearded man leaps back with a startled cry, "Whoa!" His face glistens with cold sweat as realization dawns. I screwed up, he mutters, dread pooling in his stomach. But then hope appears in an unexpected form. Brock the dwarf steps forward, his weathered face breaking into a smile. Different trades, same brotherhood. Why was I sleeping? The questions multiply, but Brock's calm presence offers salvation. Regret hangs heavy in the morning air. The stocky dwarf with the bushy red beard admits his failure. He couldn't bring himself to wake them yesterday. Now they're late on their first day and the consequences feel inevitable. Come with me, he says, leading them toward their fate. The shorter dwarf voices what they're all thinking. Will their new boss push them around because they're dwarves? But as they enter the vast workshop, all replaces anxiety. Wow, even fear can't diminish wonder. The blonde dwarf gulps in amazement at the systematic perfection around them. This human called Jeong-gyeom is no ordinary leader. He's built something extraordinary here. Everything is organized, efficient, purposeful. Maybe this won't be the nightmare they expected. Maybe someone this capable won't work them to the bone like other humans, but uncertainty gnaws at them. Whatever tasks await, they're going to be difficult. Steam rises from food trays, a small comfort before the storm. The bearded dwarf explains the concept of a buffet with genuine enthusiasm, gesturing toward the abundant feast. As much food as you want, it sounds too good to be true. The other dwarves stand by the table, satisfaction evident on their faces. But confusion cuts through the joy. What exactly are the terms of their work here? The nervous dwarf's questions reveal the tension beneath this generous welcome. Are these truly company benefits? The bearded dwarf tries to reassure them they're not being forced to do anything. These are just benefits, but questions linger like shadows. The scene shifts to reveal gleaming skyscrapers under sunlight, a stark contrast to their underground concerns. Around a small table, relief floods through them. The muscular man in green can hardly believe it. Gwen made it back in one piece. Against all odds, she survived. Sometimes the impossible becomes possible. Gratitude pours from the stocky dwarf's heart. Out there, death stalked him like a predator. He thought he was finished. But Jeong-gyeom and the elves pulled him back from the brink. Now he holds something that could change everything. This leaf of cosmos glows with otherworldly light, a shield against the spirit's deadly attacks. As long as they use these, the ghosts won't be a problem. Hope has taken physical form. The blonde dwarf's eyes burn with tactical fire. The ability to negate gas effects will turn the tide in their favor. With this group joining the fight, morale will surge like electricity through their ranks. But the stout dwarf urges caution. Once they see the enemy's true firepower, this battle won't be easy. Meanwhile, excitement bubbles over as someone mentions their trump card. Ship It launching products at 300 miles per hour from the warehouse. Game-changing power at their fingertips. The young man stares at the glowing interface, fascination and terror warring in his expression. Super challenging doesn't begin to describe what they're facing. Limited access to 6th rank. The implications are staggering. They need to understand their enemy's fighting styles, their capabilities, their weaknesses. The elderly man's weathered face grows dark with contemplation, considering how easily they obliterated Frex and his entire army. What hope do they have against such overwhelming power? The digital arena reveals the brutal mathematics of survival. 5th rank with +1 enhancement. 8th rank beast with +2. The green insect creature flaunts +4, its red eyes gleaming with deadly confidence. Enhanced weapons become the currency of life and death. Defeating 5th ranks without superior enhancements is nearly impossible. The mechanicalized strategist calculates grimly. Large quantities of projectiles might work against 8th ranks, but they need +3 weapons minimum for 7th ranks. Every number could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. The dark-haired strategist holds the glowing object, dread creeping into his voice. This is not good. An investment from the interdimensional Chamber of Commerce carries ominous implications. If only they knew the characteristics of Mirkwood's inhabitants, they could prepare accordingly. The stocky dwarf's expression hardens as he shares terrible knowledge. Mirkwood is a dimension of pure brutality, beasts whose main weapon is overwhelming strength. The very air seems to thicken with approaching doom. Panic crystallizes into desperate action. The young man's anxiety spikes as he processes the lucid horror of their situation. They can't simply assume Ely and the Elder will be enough, not when Mirkwood's 6th army might be even stronger. Emergency meeting. The call echoes through their headquarters like a battle cry. The confident elf with pointed ears leans forward, determination blazing in his ancient eyes. I don't think I'm going to lose. But if you want a solution, there is only one way. Guilt weighs heavier than any weapon. The young man in his gray uniform approaches the employee lounge, each step a battle with his conscience. The workers should be resting after everything they've endured. Asking them to return to work immediately feels like betrayal. But the muscular dwarf's patience finally snaps. Darn this, I can't take it anymore. His fierce expression reflects the pressure crushing them all. Sometimes desperation demands the unthinkable. The confrontation erupts like a dam bursting. Mr. Jeong-gyeom's anger burns as bright as forge fire. He laid out conditions during their first meeting, but now feels overwhelmed by circumstances beyond his control. His hands gesture emphatically, proof of his unsuitability for pure manual labor. The lean man with slicked black hair appears genuinely surprised, sweat beading on his forehead as tension fills the dim space. Sometimes the most honest conversations happen when patience reaches its breaking point. A groan echoes through the sunset air as reality shifts. The dark-haired strategist turns with growing concern, admitting he didn't expect much from the interdimensional Chamber of Commerce. But as the massive wolf-like creature emerges with fierce fur and predatory stance, his assessment changes dramatically. The muscular lion figure looms nearby, adding to the overwhelming presence. The sound of swish and dun-dun emphasize rising tension. It looks like they sent the best of the best. The majestic wolf surveys the assembled forces with otherworldly authority, its glowing aura pulsing with disdain. "Everyone here is trash except you," it declares with brutal honesty. A full week remains before they can unmask the northern forces. The muscular man's stern response cuts through the tension. Since their people are useless, they'll make use of them by quenching their thirst. The wolf's eyes twitch with anticipation as a crucial question arises. When is the zenith coming? Hierarchy becomes crystal clear in the fading sunlight. The dark-haired negotiator seeks guidance, but the muscular wolf immediately corrects his manner of speech. Proper respect is demanded when referencing their superior. The rabbit character dismisses any need for elaborate strategies with cold confidence. "We don't have any plans," it states matter-of-factly. "It's all going to end in a flash." Meanwhile, the burly bearded figure contemplates the necessity of crafting a weapon capable of resistance. Sometimes the simplest approaches hide the deadliest intentions. In the dimly lit design room, frustration reaches its boiling point. The tall designer spreads his sketches across the table with enthusiasm but quickly deflates. Despite his excitement about the designs, he admits the crushing truth: "I can't do it." Mr. Jeong-gyeom sits with crossed arms, his skepticism written across his weathered face. When the designer tries to laugh off his ridiculous designs, Jeong-gyeom cuts straight to the core. "That's not what I mean. It's impossible." Sometimes brutal honesty is the only kindness left. The stone room echoes with harsh reality. The dark-haired strategist's agitation boils over as he insists their current plan simply won't work, regardless of design quality. Jeong-gyeom leans against the wooden table, his expertise cutting through false hope like a blade. To forge an item capable of withstanding such a powerful stone requires a mono-reactor. The one at their old factory is gone. The timeline becomes a noose around their necks. 10 days to build another reactor. 10 days they don't have. Terror crystallizes into countdown. 7 days until limited passage opens from Mirkwood. Starting in Washington, D.C., the dark-haired boy's alarm spreads like wildfire through the emergency meeting. It's going to spread across the entire nation. The blonde leader in dark glasses surveys the room with grim authority. The majority will be drawn into this catastrophe. Sweat beads on worried faces as the brutal truth sinks in. They don't have the means to stop the 6th-rank invasion. Time is their enemy now. Desperate hope emerges from impossible odds. The muscular blonde explains the terrifying possibility. They can create an item to endure the gemstone's power, but without a mana furnace it becomes a death trap. It will explode shortly after first use. The dark-haired strategist struggles to comprehend the risks they're contemplating. How dangerous is dangerous? The nervous boy sits silently, absorbing the weight of their desperate gamble. Sometimes salvation and destruction wear the same face. Control becomes the slimmest thread of hope. The blonde strategist scribbles notes with fevered intensity. They have some control over the explosion's range and force. But why does this matter? The bearded dwarf's curiosity sharpens as understanding begins to dawn. When recognition strikes, his eyes widen in sudden comprehension. The dark-haired boy watches in confusion as the adults grasp implications beyond his understanding. Sometimes the most dangerous plans hide behind the simplest questions. Engineering meets desperation in the stone chamber's shadows. Jeong-gyeom voices skepticism about using explosion as propulsion. Won't it be too inefficient? But the dark-haired engineer's response reveals deeper mechanics. Every product is infinite in its potential. His tone grows assertive as he outlines the integration of explosion-powered propulsion with specific gear arrangements. The third observer realizes they're discussing something crucial. Sometimes the most insane ideas are the only ones that work. The planning room buzzes with nervous energy as they focus on their ace in the hole. Yang-soo, the goat of drivers, becomes the center of their desperate strategy. Jeong-gyeom admits his uncertainty about these complex discussions, but curiosity drives him forward. Yang-soo's confidence radiates as he reassures the dwarf that nothing about this will be challenging. Cooper nods in agreement as they prepare to build something crucial. The weight of their mission presses down, but determination burns brighter than fear. Timing becomes everything as they face mechanical reality. The strategist in sunglasses questions how long Yang-soo needs to master operating the machine. Their window of opportunity narrows with each passing moment. The mechanical figure whirs to life in the background, its robotic presence emphasizing the technological gamble they're taking. The muscular blonde man maintains his assertive stance, while the boy in glasses focuses intently. 314 days to full mastery. But they don't have 314 hours. Strategy crystallizes around the war room table as they prepare for the impossible. The blonde tactician furrows his brow in concentration, while the dark-skinned commander gestures emphatically at crucial points on the map. It's critical to move now. Those who underestimate their plans will regret it. They must be ready for anything. Glowing green crystals pass between hands, mysterious resources for the battle ahead. Above them all, Washington, D.C. stretches toward the sky, unaware of the approaching storm. Swish, time accelerates toward confrontation. D1. One day until hell opens its gates. The burly soldier speaks into his radio while armed forces take positions throughout the city. Behind them, gleaming towers reflect sunlight like false promises of peace. But beneath their feet, something stirs. Crack! A massive clawed hand breaks through the Earth's surface, heralding the invasion. Dark figures approach with authoritative stomp sounds echoing through the streets. The countdown has begun. D-Day arrives with supernatural authority. The muscular wolf and bunny-eared figure move through the fog like harbingers of destruction, their steps heavy with purpose. Du Dun reverberates through the mist as they trudge forward, each footfall bringing them closer to their objective. The shadowy figure approaches through the supernatural haze, creating an atmosphere of impending conflict. The air itself seems to thicken with anticipation. Today, everything changes. Final orders echo through the battlefield as the Fang unit prepares to strike. The monkey-like warrior questions their superior about specific dangers, seeking any tactical advantage. The response is coldly efficient: burn them out of existence. Make sure to finish your kills. No mercy, no hesitation. Dash! The unit charges forward with lethal intent while the beast-like creature roars behind them. The dark-haired fighter delivers a devastating thwack, his punch connecting with explosive impact. War has begun. Lightning splits the air as the young woman rushes forward, electricity crackling around her like divine fury. Her black outfit streams behind her as she moves with supernatural speed, but her opponent strikes back with devastating force. Whoosh, bam, crash, each impact sends shockwaves through the battlefield. The blue-armored warrior with the skull helmet cries out in desperation. "My lady!" His teeth bare in anguish as he watches her fall. Even the strongest can be brought low. Gunfire erupts like deadly thunder. Bang! A figure reacts to being hit, the sound echoing off urban walls. Graa! Pain and defiance mix in equal measure as the soldier in tactical gear unleashes rapid fire. Tay-tay-tay-tay, his weapon chatters with mechanical precision. Through it all, the dark-haired woman maintains her composure, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Yeah, it's been a while since I've been struck like that." Experience has taught her to find normalcy in violence. The battlefield explodes into primal savagery. Soldiers fire desperately, kat-tat-tat, bang, bang, their weapons chattering against overwhelming odds. The massive brown bear charges forward with its tongue lolling, pure aggression in every muscle. But the bunny-like creature strikes with supernatural speed, its claws finding their target with a vicious slash. The bear staggers, momentarily caught off guard by the smaller opponent's ferocity. K.O.K. A battle cry echoes through the destruction, promising more violence to come. Power meets power in devastating collision. The masked warrior unleashes a fiery blast that illuminates the battlefield, his gray suit gleaming with golden accents. Smash, he strikes down with overwhelming force, sending debris flying in all directions. But the monkey-like creature absorbs the impact, standing firm with wild determination. Thump, skidd, boom, the masked figure is sent sprawling across the hard surface in an explosive crash. Sometimes overwhelming power isn't enough. The wolf's gray fur bristles with predatory intensity as it faces the armored warrior. Enhanced power flows through its muscular frame like liquid lightning. The Dark Knight stands ready, red eyes glowing from within his ornate helmet, weapon poised for the killing blow. They stare at each other across the battle-scarred arena, both calculating their next move. Step, the wolf prepares to strike, teeth bared in a savage grin. This is where legends either rise or fall. The wolf's fierce blue eyes gleam with malevolent satisfaction as it grins with bared teeth. Kehehe, surprised. Destruction erupts around them as the towering structure crushes under impossible force, debris and dust filling the air. Through the chaos, the tactical armored figure emerges, while a man in dark outfit and round glasses appears with his own smirk. Surprised. The question echoes mockingly through the devastation. Sometimes the greatest weapon is the element of surprise itself. The massive armored robot strikes with earth-shaking force, its fists sending debris scattering with a violent fshhh. An explosion erupts from below, poof, highlighting the intensity of mechanical destruction. Wham! Another devastating blow prepares to fall as the robot's glowing blue eyes pierce through the chaos. Through the dust and destruction, a desperate cry rings out. Lagar. The name carries both hope and fear, as if this mechanical giant might be their salvation, or their doom. Heroism charges through the smoke and flames. The muscular warrior in his dark green vest drags a smaller figure forward, determination blazing in his eyes. We will save you. His battle cry cuts through the chaos as he confronts the imposing metallic masked figure radiating ominous energy. You filth. Let go of him now. Poof, smash, explosions erupt around them as they make their desperate escape. Splash, they crash through water, their frantic movement emphasized by the chaos pursuing them. Sometimes courage is the only weapon that matters. The towering robot surveys the aftermath, its glowing orange eyes cutting through smoke and debris. THUNO, more wreckage crashes down around them, followed by a softer pelop as smaller fragments settle. DU done energy surges through the mechanical giant as light and power dance around its frame. But in the quiet aftermath, reflection emerges. The blond man holds his drink, remembering Brock's passionate work ethic. I was born to create, he realizes. I wanted to return to my roots. Sometimes destruction inspires the greatest creations. Pride and engineering merge in the creator's explanation. The rugged man with tousled hair leans against the wall, drink in hand, as he reveals his masterpiece. And so I give you. GIGANTE. His casual confidence masks the weapon's devastating potential. The mechanism uses magic scrolls to create controlled explosions, more sophisticated than his previous unstable creations. But as the digital warning flashes, overload warning. Explosion imminent. His expression shifts from pride to deadly seriousness. Creation and destruction dance on a knife's edge. Warning signals pierce the darkness of the control room. The man with dark hair and glasses observes the imminent explosion alert with calculated calm. Pop, something small darts through the air with a flap of mechanical wings. Strategic thinking cuts through the chaos. If the robot only has a few moves before shutdown, the solution becomes brutally simple. Why not just blow it up? Sometimes the most logical approach is also the most destructive. The tension builds toward an inevitable, catastrophic conclusion. Destruction births creation in the span of heartbeats. Massive explosions tear through the background as Jeong-gyeom turns with focused determination. Flick. His gesture carries the weight of command as he issues the crucial order. Ship one new gigant, please. Got it. Acknowledgement comes swift and certain. The ocean ripples with deployed energy as the masterpiece of James's lifetime emerges. Gigant X has been delivered. When one falls, another rises to take its place. The mechanical beast awakens with a thunderous whir, its blue eyes blazing to life. Stomp, each step shakes the earth as it charges into battle with devastating purpose. Enhanced by the previous explosion, the Queen's armor has reached maximum potential. The intelligent robot pushes efficiency to its absolute limits. Bring it on, mirkwood bastards. The battle cry echoes across the battlefield as a pink-haired warrior prepares to strike. SNOOSH precedes the explosive thwack of impact. Technology and fury unite in perfect harmony. Chaos erupts in vehicular destruction. Crash, skid, the large vehicle slides to a violent halt as explosive force tears through the battlefield. Kaboom! The explosion blinds and deafens, filling the air with searing heat and deadly fragments. Through the flames and smoke, the muscular commander in his sleeveless top and hat stands resolute, issuing tactical orders. All units withdraw. We are altering our strategy. Stay out of sight until I give orders. Rumble, FSHHH. The aftermath settles like a blanket of destruction. Strategic retreat sometimes requires more courage than advance. FWOM. The shockwave ripples through smoke and debris as two allies check on each other. The tall, muscular tactician supports his shorter companion, genuine concern in his voice. You're not hurt. Jeong-gyeom expresses gratitude despite the chaos surrounding them. But unease creeps in as they process their enemy's overwhelming power, strong enough to destroy the gigant with a single punch and make it explode. They're really not playing, are they? The call of Jeong-gyeom's name cuts through the destruction, signaling new dangers approaching. Through the wreckage, the trio surveys devastating destruction. Fortunately, no one else was caught in the blast zone, a small mercy in this escalating war. The protagonist in his light gray jacket processes the scene. A 6th-rank ape blasted the gigant away with one punch. But where is this overwhelmingly powerful creature now? The blonde woman in the cowboy hat expresses concern about the monsters they've witnessed. Some didn't look like typical 6th ranks. The enemy is highly experienced and cautious, which makes them exponentially more dangerous. Strategy forms through the chaos as unlikely allies discuss their options. The blonde character in his brown overcoat radiates confidence. It's almost impossible for him to lose in direct confrontation. But the elder is absent, called away by park business at the worst possible time. The dark-haired boy's curiosity sharpens as he inquires about debt, creating a pause in their urgent planning. In the distance, two figures move through the snowy setting, one cloaked in mystery. Swish, movement through the winter air, suggests approaching complications. Desperation drives unlikely alliances in the mist-shrouded battlefield. The worried man in his black coat seeks answers from General Deltaras about their failing tactics. Why isn't their strategy affecting the Northern Army? The red-skinned general listens with grave attention as shadows and mist create an ominous atmosphere. The enemy is far more formidable than they appear. Abilities that should work against them prove completely ineffective. I don't know what's going on, but my ability is not effective on them at all. Sometimes power means nothing without understanding. In the smoke-filled devastation, a dark choice presents itself. The man in the long purple coat speaks with chilling indifference about others' fates, his shadowy aura reflecting his moral flexibility. Opposite him, the muscular red beast with sharp claws growls with primitive aggression, torn clothing revealing his transformed state. FSSH. GRRR. The sounds of bestial fury fill the air as something fundamental changes in their enemies. A background observer notes with growing alarm. What's wrong with them? The creatures are becoming stronger. External manipulation is accelerating their evolution into something far worse. Urgency crystallizes into desperate action as the dark-haired boy sweats with worry. Ely went off on her own. The implications terrify him. They need to stop the enemy before they formulate a complete strategy. I hope she's fine, but the armored figure's response offers no comfort. Things aren't looking great on their end, and they can't afford to wait. The blue-haired warrior draws his sword with a sharp shing, his flowing cape marking him as a figure of authority. I shall assist the Northern Army in battle. Sometimes hope requires taking action despite impossible odds. The blue-haired commander takes his leave with formal dignity, but tension follows like a shadow. Dart, a figure moves with urgent purpose as the young man in the white shirt turns to observe. His concern deepens as explosions erupt within the city's skyline, blast echoes through the urban canyon. Stare, he watches the destruction with growing dread, his furrowed brow reflecting the weight of uncertainty. I really hope nothing bad is happening. But hope and reality rarely align during war, and the explosions suggest their worst fears are becoming truth. In the devastated city streets, a lean figure with silvery hair catches his breath beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Phew, but victory belongs to someone else entirely. A muscular woman emerges through the debris, pale skin streaked with battle, clutching a severed arm like a trophy. Not so tough now, are you? Her taunt cuts through the mist, until a guttural grahh erupts from the shadows. Something else is coming. The muscular fighter in green swings his weapon with desperate force, thwack connecting with the beast. But panic floods his features as he realizes the horrible truth. Oh no, I missed one. The creature is too fast, too quick for his frantic strikes. Stomp, 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 something approaches with relentless footsteps. Gunfire erupts in the chaos, pat-tat-tat, while his fingers fumble with his weapon. Click, click. Time is running out. Two armed men fight for survival in the rain-soaked darkness. The first grips his empty weapon. Dang it, I'm out of ammo. His warning comes too late as monstrous footsteps shake the ground. Hey, watch out. The second man screams in terror, ah, blood streaming from his wounded arm. Then a robed figure tumbles forward with dramatic flair, ready to face the nightmare bearing down on them. The shadowy figure transforms into something monstrous, towering over the battlefield. A man in a long dark coat prepares for combat while another fighter in green channels energy through his fists. POW. The strike lands with devastating force, but the chaos isn't over. Dart, another figure flees in light green, recognizing when retreat is the only option. The urban wasteland trembles under their conflict. POW, smash. The hooded figure crumples under the devastating blow. The muscular fighter in green exhales with relief, phew, but his expression remains grim. These things have amazing regenerative abilities, he warns, understanding the true horror they face. So we've got to pummel them until they are certainly dead. An armored figure listens intently, processing the deadly implications. They recover. The question hangs in the air like a death sentence. The metallic figure with burning red eyes suddenly gasps in alarm. But that means Master is in danger. Meanwhile, the dark-haired young man contemplates their desperate situation, something clutched in his hand. He can't seem to come up with a surefire way to win this. His thoughts drift to Ely, who left to find the ape boss, but with every passing moment the stakes climb higher. Dash, a pink-skinned warrior and tactical fighter race across the war-torn battlefield as gunfire erupts around them. The situation has spiraled beyond control. The beasts inhaled the gas and went berserk, becoming even stronger. It wasn't the best situation to simply wait for Ely. Blue energy blasts illuminate the chaos as knights split from the group. The Southern Army needs help, and every second counts in this escalating nightmare. All right, I'll go talk to them. The determined young man in his dark coat strides forward with purpose. Behind him, two elders groan in discomfort on the grassy ground. "Og, my poor back," complains the scruffy-bearded elder in his sleeveless shirt. His companion in tattered robes mentions a box full of cosmic saplings, lamenting his condition. But a mysterious whoosh interrupts their moment of levity. Someone approaches. The hooded figure contemplates a troubling realization. Higher-ranked enemies might not be as resilient to ailments. Actually, it kind of makes sense. Behind him, a blue portal glows ominously. The spiky-haired man in navy vest sweats with concern, questioning whether they need to find the merchants of Camelot. The round creature with its green clover responds with surprising confidence, despite the roaming beasts everywhere. Hope flickers in the chaos. In the devastated urban landscape, Jeong-gyeom stands among crumbling towers, his navy shirt a stark contrast to the destruction. The fluffy cat-like creature departs with urgent words. "Leave everything to me, Jeong-gyeom. Be careful." He watches it go, hoping everyone returns safely. But worrying won't help, it's not going to get us anywhere. Then suddenly, a massive explosion erupts nearby. Red energy and dark clouds spiral upward. What is happening? A small boy in his hoodie stares up in shock at the monstrous creature looming above him. Pink and purple flesh ripple with menace as deadly claws cast shadows over his trembling form. Clang, tremble. The boy's confusion shifts to pure terror as the beast's hand hovers inches from his face. Then an armored figure appears, weapon ready. Lancelot. The surprise in the armored warrior's voice suggests this encounter was unexpected. The armored figure with glowing red eyes faces the massive wolf beast in the misty darkness. I just don't get it," the armor-clad warrior admits with grudging respect. Like the other beasts, this one has gotten stronger as well. The wolf's philosophy is harsh and unforgiving, only the strong survive. Someone like you shouldn't have trouble understanding this. And yet you throw your life away for these feeble humans. Grind. Shatter. Violence is inevitable. The fierce purple wolf snarls its twisted philosophy. Hunger devors even the gods. Fear can tear apart even love. The creature proclaims that mercy is nothing but shackles dragging down the starving. The shadowy armored figure raises his sword in defiance. "And I fight to destroy those shackles," he declares. "I'm tired of playing silly word games with you." POW. The clash begins. Primal hunger versus moral conviction in the urban wasteland. Jeong-gyeom stands firm against the towering armored adversary, his determination unwavering. "What I can tell you is this. The days I have fought for love and mercy are far longer than the years you have lived." The purple-armored figure grins maliciously, taunting him. "Let's see if you're still holding such nonsense after I rend your throat asunder." Jeong-gyeom clenches his fists. Even in death, his values will endure. Dart. WHOSH. The final battle begins. The battle rages with devastating speed. Clash. Thwack. POW. The boy in his hoodie watches helplessly as the monstrous pink and purple creature exchanges violent blows. They're way too fast, he realizes in frustration. "I can't use my shipping attack accurately." Then an explosive boom shakes the battlefield, scattering debris everywhere. What was that noise? His panic spikes as he spots his fallen companion. Lancelot. Lancelot lies vulnerable on the dark battlefield, his armor offering little protection against the looming wolf beast. "Are you okay, Lancelot?" The creature towers above him with predatory satisfaction. "Didn't I tell you, knight, that hunger devours even the gods?" The wolf's voice drips with menace. "Today, that hunger will feast on your ideals." Lancelot's defiant response echoes through the shadows. "I will put you out of your misery before the one you serve." "You are the result," the ominous voice declares as the darkly armored figure looms menacingly. Grab. The purple wolf creature seizes someone's hand with brutal force. A woman in a wide-brimmed hat and fitted shirt appears alongside the wolf man, her expression shifting from confusion to deep concern. Her striking green eyes glisten with emotional distress as the wolf beast's head looms over her. The urban chaos surrounds them like a nightmare. "And so RYOU, Jeong-gyeom's voice echoes with finality. Suddenly the word shine explodes across the scene in brilliant contrast to the destruction. The desolate cityscape transforms as strong winds stir debris around towering buildings. Through the chaos, two muscular figures emerge in the distance, shrouded in mysterious light. They stride down the street with confident purpose, their glowing aura cutting through the tumultuous environment. A white truck sits nearby as shadowy presence stirs beneath. The fluffy white creature cautiously steps forward, green leaf clutched in its mouth, sniffing the air with careful vigilance. "I don't smell any beasts nearby," it declares with growing enthusiasm. "Here I go." It dashes forward swiftly across the rain-slicked street, tail flaring behind as streaks of light trail its movement. The scent of the Camelot Knights guides its urgent mission. But suddenly it flinches. Something unexpected lurks in the surroundings. The injured Lancelot remains on the ground while the massive wolf beast looms above. The small furry creature watches nervously from a distance, green object still in its mouth. What the? Did that thing see me? The creature realizes with growing alarm. At this distance. Then swift action dart, followed by an explosive boom as another creature flies toward the scene. ACK. The small animal cries out as it's suddenly grabbed in a precarious situation. The imposing wolf creature with piercing red eyes glares menacingly at the hooded figure. You are a suspicious little one scurrying around like that, it growls with predatory interest. What are you searching for? Who are you? The tension builds as tap, splat, blood splatters across the scene in shocking contrast. The hooded figure stands with weapon aimed, ready for confrontation. Violence erupts in the dark urban nightmare. The powerful wolf creature with shaggy gray fur and burning red eyes stares intensely through the chaos. Swirling water and debris create a menacing backdrop as turmoil rages around them. A hand grips fabric with desperate force, partially obscured but unmistakably urgent. Then suddenly, a young man with slick-back dark hair cries out with raw emotion. ELY. His pale face contorts with intense concern and desperation. The storm of battle claims another victim. A figure with long braided hair and wide-brimmed hat challenges the wolf's twisted philosophy. Strength is the cause, and weakness is the result. You sorely misunderstand the true concept of strength. The muscular wolf beast listens intently in the foggy, dimly lit landscape. This knight didn't simply lose to you in combat. The figure continues with growing conviction. He made a vast choice to himself. The water reflects their confrontation as deeper truths emerge. The vulnerable Lancelot remains on the ground as the massive wolf beast towers above him. The small furry creature watches in nervous anticipation. A young woman with short gray hair and cowboy hat throws a determined punch, her fist surrounded by swirling green energy. What are you talking about? She challenges. The beast's philosophy crumbles against her conviction. Serenity is no match for tyranny. It is the responsibility to protect others. Thwack. Her blow connects with supernatural force. Splash. Water erupts dramatically as the battle's aftermath unfolds. Then a soft ding cuts through the chaos. A holographic notification appears before the dark-haired man in blue shirt and vest. The interdimensional Chamber of Commerce delivers crushing news. The investment from the Mirkwood dimension to your region has officially ended. The expansion from Washington, D.C. has closed. All profit distribution and commission settlements are complete. A woman in black stands against the chaotic backdrop, watching everything change. In the dark aftermath of conflict, a muscular man in black tactical gear kneels beside a fallen figure, his glowing blue device cutting through the gloom. A breathless soldier nearby clutches his own device, expressing gratitude for the support received. Thank you to all parties who took part in the investment, the notification concludes. A humanoid figure stands amid scattered weapons while a fluffy creature approaches with its green leaf. Clomp. Another cloaked figure emerges from the shadows. Clomp. Heavy footsteps echo through the rubble as a figure in a long brown cloak walks solemnly through the devastation. The menacing armored figure with red eyes staggers, raising his arm in acknowledgement of something greater than himself. A dark-haired young man with regal bearing addresses his protector with heartfelt gratitude. I say sorry a lot, but I never thanked you enough. You're always giving everything you have, looking out for me and everyone else. The weight of sacrifice hangs between them. So thank you, Lancelot, the young man says with noble sincerity. The vulnerable knight responds with dutiful humility, and not at all, my lord, it is simply my duty. The fluffy creature interrupts with practical wisdom. Hey, there's no need, just say thanks. Thank you, the young man repeats simply. Then urgency returns as someone spots another casualty. There, I see another injured. The cycle of rescue and recovery continues in the urban wasteland. Get moving, there's more danger on the next block. The muscular man in black urgently coordinates the rescue effort. Hey healer, this guy's bleeding pretty bad, I need help. He assists a wounded comrade as they clasp hands in solidarity. Thank you so much. Now I can finally get some good sleep. The injured man responds with relief. The dark-haired boy reflects on the gas ability he initially worried about. It was harder than expected, but they're managing to minimize the damage. In the brightly lit recovery area, a man with long hair holds his glowing green device, radiating confidence and power. The resources are stable, he assures them. You don't have much to worry about. The muscular man in his green jacket expresses gratitude while the youthful character in light blue insists on staying to help nurse the injured. Their bond strengthens through shared commitment. I owe you so much, one says to another. Hope begins to replace despair. That reminds me, I never got to ask because I was so distracted. The dark-haired young man in blue finally voices his request. The older figure with ram-like horns eagerly responds, you have a favor to ask. It would be an honor to be of help. What is it? The question hangs in the air. Would it be possible for you to revive the skeleton knights? Meanwhile, the muscular bearded man celebrates their completed task with relief. Now they can craft decent items. The mana reactor is complete at last. The bearded craftsman beams with pride as brilliant light emanates from their achievement. With this, we can make anything, he declares with confidence. The blonde companion shares his excitement. Definitely, I can't wait to get to work. But then reality strikes. Oh right, Johanna's fire is very hot, so it should stand out easily. The group falls silent, realizing a crucial oversight. Where did they put it? Did nobody bring it? The bearded man sweats profusely, anxiety flooding his features. The blonde figure beside him looks equally worried as they contemplate their predicament. What do we do? Should we tell the president about it now at least? The bearded man responds with urgent certainty. Is that even a question? Of course we're going to tell him. Because at this rate we're all doomed. The sunset behind the building signals time running out. The muscular soldier reflects on his exhausting battle with Colonel Kim. But this one was by far the toughest. Even if he needed me for something right now, I can't do it. I'm too exhausted. Another soldier wearing military gear answers an urgent call. Sir, the JCS headquarters is calling. But fatigue overrides duty. I don't care, I can barely lift a finger. A concerned younger soldier asks about the JCS situation, disbelief etched across his face. What? The soldier reacts with shock to unexpected news. Meanwhile, the wise elder with flowing white beard and robes considers the revival request. Would it be possible for you to revive the skeleton knights? He's asked. Revive? I heard from the elders that your knights suffered due to the effects of nature energy from the trees of cosmos. His hand conjures a glowing orb of power. They apparently altered their flow of nature energy to counter the painful effects. Before I get to whether doing such a thing is possible, I have a question for you, the bearded craftsman states with serious intensity, green light playing across his weathered features. Do you truly believe that restoring the bodies of the fallen contains revival? The dark-haired man with sharp features gasps in realization. That is no revival, the craftsman continues. It is barely a change to the shell that contains the soul. Then what exactly is revival? The question cuts to the heart of life and death itself. I actually have something to talk to you about. The bearded man's face is streaked with sweat, his distress palpable. The blonde companion glances anxiously between the group, while a confused man in black looks on. Dun ominous sounds echo through the urban canyon as the sun casts an eerie glow over their gathering. I have a favor to ask, Cooper. The weight of their situation presses down like the approaching twilight. The soldier explains the mana reactor's complex mechanics to the curious young man. You asked if I can use this to bring the knights back to life. There's a catch, though. It is so difficult to the point it's almost reckless. When the condition is met, the item is given a random property or effect. Basically, the owner speaks words to the object. The setting transitions from dimly lit discussion to a brighter workspace displaying various crafted items. The next point is an obvious one, but you cannot give it a random, ridiculous condition. The soldier emphasizes the gravity of their undertaking. The portly Cooper responds hesitantly, trying to grasp the concept. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. But actually you think this is no conflict. The soldier nods, yes, and this is home. We can affect outcomes when the ties are tied to you. The sunlight bathes their collaborative discussion. I don't know how much you know about me, but I've got something you need to worry about. A well-built figure speaks with growing concern while someone in a dark hoodie prepares a surprise behind him. I don't want the night to end, but maybe it's better to share this with you later. I've got a big surprise for you. Then urgent panic, a messenger bursts in. Colonel Kim, I've got bad news regarding the JGS. It's been attacked. The damage isn't as great as I thought it'd be, the bearded man observes as they survey the building. So what monster was it? Apparently no one has seen anything like it before, comes the grim reply. It was a 7th rank, with wings like a bat and a face like the devil. The devil? Huh. The description sends chills through the group as they contemplate whether this nightmare originated overseas. Foreboding settles over them like the eerie sunset light. Pax, did you receive anything? The soldier gestures toward the glowing portal pulsing with blue energy. So what's going on this time? Pax responds with characteristic nonchalance about their frequent crises. Since you have trouble understanding lengthy documents, I am currently summarizing the content. The soldier delivers shocking news. First, Firmegan, the devil's incarnation, has entered Earth through the Biting War and has consolidated the Europe region. Europe. So the monster came from Europe. Pax gasps in surprise. It's almost like what happened with the Ras in Japan, the soldier notes grimly. I agree, the portly man responds, sweat beading on his brow as he considers the implications. The Korea region as a whole will be notified 7 days from now, so they're just gonna open the gate before we even fight. The urgency builds as they realize the scope of the threat. There is no time. A third character grimaces, reluctant to deliver more bad news to his earlier contact. Please don't worry about it, the well-built man in the dark green jacket reassures his companion. I'm sorry. If Cody was here, he would be coming to you for her. The slender man in athletic wear listens attentively as they discuss their dangerous predicament. Well, we wouldn't have been here if it hadn't been for you. It's our turn to help. Their conversation turns to the looming threat. Anyway, what kind of monsters are they? Dark wings spread in the shadows. They were very large. Their skin looked to be as hard as stone. The bearded man recalls his terrifying encounter. One of them flew straight at me, which caught me off guard, but it turned out to be weak against divine power. The younger man in gray absorbs this crucial information about enchanted bullets affecting the gargoyles. I did hear about more gargoyles appearing in other places. The threat is spreading, but at least they're finding weaknesses to exploit. Of course, just reach out to me anytime, the confident young man with wavy hair gestures toward a magnificent weapon. I have the perfect item for that. Raki's holy spear. The ethereal light from the spear illuminates the darkness around them. With Brock's craftsmanship, I will get them up to +4. A bearded craftsman emerges holding a glowing pink orb, anticipation building. Can you inscribe a mana grimoire with the control of killing low-level devils? Hope gleams as bright as the holy weapon. My goodness, the portly man in blue expresses alarm at the disturbing calculations. Oh right, you're just in time, Mr. President, he adds as the soldier arrives with his staff-like device. Oh, please tell me, he requests urgently. The soldier delivers the crushing analysis of the Tree of Cosmos project. Click. The device calculates their grim timeline, that it will take 250 years. The responsibility weighs heavily on them both in the equipment-filled room. What? The athletic man raises an eyebrow in intrigue as his companion explains the harsh reality. You do have an infinite supply of everything, but there is a limit to how much you can duplicate something at once. It is 8 per second. The well-built man in his green jacket provides a metaphorical illustration. If you produce trees of cosmos at this rate, the energy will not be sufficient. Allow me to give an easy example. Let's compare IT with trying to break down a large dam. Of course, not all of it will completely disappear. It will take 250 years. The bearded man uses metaphors of deserts and ice cubes to illustrate their impossible timeline. The dark-haired character in his stark uniform listens with growing resignation. You're basically telling me revival is simply not possible. It's like twisting the knife. No, it's okay, I get it now, he responds with solemn understanding. The brick-walled room echoes with the weight of dashed hopes. I feel that it's the best way for me to help them, the soldier states with crossed arms and unwavering dedication. But just now, we've learned it's impossible, so. Yeah. Then the young man with wavy hair proposes an alternative with sudden inspiration. What I mean is, why not tinker a little bit? The soldier pauses, considering the unexpected suggestion. And enchant them instead. Innovation blooms where resurrection failed. Perhaps there's another way to honor the fallen. Previously, Jeong-gyeom and his allies discovered a desperate path forward, enchantment instead of resurrection. But now, in a brightly lit room, two allies share worried glances. The young man brushes his teeth, voicing concern about Cooper running late. His bearded companion agrees, this isn't something Cooper could ever forget. Then, a scratching sound echoes through the silence. Meanwhile, the well-built man in his green jacket pauses mid-thought, sweat beading on his forehead. His pen hovers over the notepad as anxiety grips him. Something crucial lurks just beyond his memory's reach. He groans in frustration. What has he forgotten? In the stone-walled room, beams of light filter through shuttered windows like prison bars. Across Europe, a different conversation unfolds. The muscular demon with bat-like wings speaks with genuine gratitude to the well-dressed director. Though their partnership began intensely, they've come so far together. The demon's appreciation runs deep. Without the director, he wouldn't be here. Their strategic use of gargoyles has proven invaluable against 70-rank enemies. The director's ambition radiates as he outlines their European conquest. Dozens of portals installed, future bases planned, only Sisyphus remaining for completion. His heart races at the prospect of working for Barnahal, but the horned being's warning cuts through his excitement. Never underestimate their rivals. Sunlight streams through office windows, illuminating dreams shadowed by danger. The dark-skinned commander with bat-like wings confirms today's mission. The Korean gate opens. Preparations complete, they can depart immediately. Around them, blue energy swirls and lightning crackles as the portal charges. The countdown begins. 312.3 seconds until activation. The strategy remains unchanged. Secure the bridge at all costs. A menacing growl echoes from the muscular creature as it confirms understanding. The well-dressed strategist boasts of Luxembourg's record, 109 minutes and 15 seconds for complete conquest. Now let's see how quickly Korea falls. But their planning session shatters as an armored knight bursts in, sword raised, shouting a commanding, "Halt!" The demonic figure sits in brooding silence, helmet casting shadows over his sinister features. Electric energy suddenly erupts around him as the city skyline warps with swirling disturbances. Behind him, a shadowy presence looms. Then, a deafening BROOOAR shatters the quiet as he launches forward with ferocious intent, lightning crackling in his wake. Violence erupts with brutal efficiency. The figure in sleek green delivers a devastating blow, thwack, blood spattering across the warehouse. His glowing weapon cuts through the darkness as his masked face shows cold determination. From the shadows, another voice confirms their strategic pivot. Enchant the knights for future battles. In the dimly lit briefing room, the Dark Commander questions the bespectacled subordinate about manipulating knight rankings. The stocky man dismisses it as impossible, claiming no time for jokes. But the commander remains serious. This is about gathering intelligence on armor and weapon preferences, a survey to understand their needs better. The muscular man scratches his bald head as his bearded companion eagerly flips through research papers. They discuss examining knight preferences and fighting patterns, urgent work to finish by day's end. The conversation shifts to dissolving enchanted stones into liquid. Suddenly, a fierce figure in a green helmet emerges, ready for battle. The demonic warrior unleashes a fierce KRAA as he lunges forward. His opponent, skull-faced with glowing blue eyes, stands ready for battle, but doubt creeps in. Is his current form too weak due to low rank? They clash with a metallic clang that echoes through the misty battleground. The demon gasps in shock. The green-clad warrior swings his glowing weapon with deadly precision. The purple-skinned monster roars defiantly. Oh, the weapon lacks power, but blood splatters as the blade finds its mark. The beast tumbles backward, struggling to maintain its footing. Despite visible injuries, it darts forward with aggressive resolve, refusing to yield. The battle escalates as the winged demon roars from above, dual weapons gleaming. His bespectacled ally swings his sword, noting the gargoyle's aerial advantage with growing concern. In the chaotic darkness, strikes land with brutal efficiency. The demon's fierce expression reveals sharp teeth and glowing red eyes, a predator unleashed. A cloaked attacker strikes with a resounding phwack. His hooded features remain mysterious except for menacing eyes that gleam with confidence. He questions his opponent's readiness, claiming he never relied much on trickery. The outdoor confrontation grows personal. He feels bad about taking someone's spot, but what choice does he have? The blue-skinned demon declares he'll be indebted just this once, eager to test his new powers. Around him, armored knights wielding impressive weapons stand alert, but shock ripples through the group as someone spots a portal and gasps, "Firmegan." Panic sets in as another voice stutters desperately, "W8." The rocky landscape frames an ominous portal. The green warrior's weapon creates a powerful FWOOM as he swings through the battlefield. His darkly armored ally despairs. The gargoyles have eliminated his beloved companions. He desperately calls for cooperation against their tattooed adversary. But where is this strange wind coming from? A piercing stare cuts through the swirling debris and uncertainty. Dark purple mist swirls as spectral energy fills the battlefield. A knight's silhouette faces the churning chaos while otherworldly rumbles and shraks pierce the air. Two armored figures converse tensely. The captain knows exactly what they're facing. Lancelot reports to his lord. A specter has appeared. A man in formal attire observes the forming cluster of vengeful spirits. The muscular commander in green responds to orders. They'll return without delay. As lightning splits the stormy sky, questions plague him. Why do devils fight alongside specters? Could this strange alliance connect to Burano? The battlefield churns with unnatural energies as armored allies prepare for whatever revelation awaits. In the dimly lit workshop, the tall warrior declares he'll take charge now. His bearded companion proudly presents the finished spear, upgraded to banish spirits with each strike. The dark-haired craftsman jokes about completing such work with his eyes closed. Camaraderie flows between them despite the looming threat of devils approaching. The bearded craftsman asks why his companion was absent for a week. The younger man explains his work on modified mana circuits and holy spear circuitry, enthusiasm brightening his face. He playfully suggests crafting dwarf-themed items, sparking curiosity about what features might be desired. Light-hearted banter fills the industrial workshop. In the stone chamber, a smaller figure kneels in shock before the imposing armored warrior. The name Fanta hangs in the air as disbelief washes over them. The tall figure turns towards swirling purple mist, his mighty hammer ready. Each footstep echoes with purpose, clomp, "Du done," as shadows reach out ominously and distant roars promise conflict. A skull-faced figure emerges from the darkness as luminous energy charges in the warrior's hands. The muscular champion grips his hammer, power crackling around him like contained lightning. Energy builds, then explodes outward in a whirlwind of sparks and colors. The very air seems to tear apart from the force of his unleashed might. A massive explosion rocks the mountain, shockwaves rippling outward with a thunderous boom. On a distant rooftop, the winged demon and suited man observe a holographic weapon display. The director enthuses about the hell of a weapon while the demon remains stoically silent. Another voice laughs, reminding everyone who crafted this devastating creation. The young warrior grins confidently, time to test this bad boy and return the favor. His heavy footsteps echo with purpose as he strides forward, muttering ominously about the core. The setting shifts to electric blue lighting as hulking figures loom in the darkness. A commanding voice booms the order: destroy the gate core. The horned figure's chilling determination fills the stone chamber as he explains the necessity: destroy their gate to prevent enemy access. The silver-haired man in his blue suit worries about losing other gate connections, but survival demands sacrifice. The Dark Commander demonstrates his glowing portal magic, the word RIP echoing as reality tears apart. Energy crackles and screeches as the purple orb pulses with unstable power. The bat-winged figure and his suited companion witness the enormous luminous sphere charging to critical levels. An armored warrior dashes forward with desperate urgency as the magical forces threaten to tear reality itself apart. Time is running out. After the explosion's aftermath, confusion reigns in the Twilight Town square. The dark-haired young man in his gray uniform looks around bewildered. Where are they? The muscular armored warrior with his cross emblem scans for missing devils. Roars echo through the stone buildings as he shouts orders to hold the line against unseen threats. The young warrior calls for help from the narrow alleyway, urgency in every gesture. The red-haired woman in green and black rallies her companions: hold the ground or they all fall. Her fierce determination ignites the desperate fighters as they shout encouragement. But a dark-cloaked figure prepares to strike with sinister intent. Terror grips the fighters as the purple gargoyle towers over them, its powerful stomp shaking the ground. Panic spreads. These aren't regular devils they've been fighting. The red-haired girl shouts desperately for retreat, knowing gargoyles are beyond their capabilities. But fear and determination war in her voice as she tries to save her companions. The muscular warrior strikes with devastating force, cutting down the gargoyle in a single blow. Energy explodes outward as the beast crashes with a resounding thud. The woman with reddish-brown hair stares in shock, mouth agape. Her companion can barely believe what they've witnessed. Did he just kill a gargoyle single-handedly? The young woman with reddish-brown hair turns anxiously at approaching footsteps, debris scattered around them from recent destruction. The armored figure with his green cape advances cautiously, weapon ready. Her messy-haired companion tries to reassure her. They were chasing devils before landing here, but uncertainty hangs heavy in the air. The red-haired woman seeks clarity about their location as her companion explains their confusion. The devils they pursued have vanished. He reveals they're in Prague, Czechia, causing her to process this startling information. The Korea representative flashes a reassuring smile despite the chaos, but a shadowy figure's clenched glove hints at lurking danger. In the dim blue-lit area, the purple gargoyle declares it's time for the last resort. The anxious man in his light blue suit questions their next move. Their plan lacks proper preparation. A dark-haired strategist observes from a distance as the urgency mounts. Despite being early, the plan must proceed. Sisyphus construction must be completed immediately. The dark-haired strategist studies the European map thoughtfully, outlining their portal-hopping strategy to reach Paris. The girl with purple hair confirms the Firmigan's main base location and their scattered camps. Her expression shifts from serious to incredulous. Is he really serious about conquering all of Europe? The magnitude of their challenge becomes clear. Two armored knights survey the battlefield destruction, expressing disbelief that half their forces fell in just 10 minutes. The young woman reflects thoughtfully at the table, her reddish-brown hair framing intense determination. She doesn't know exactly what these knights are, but their power is undeniable. They serve the Korea representative. The red-haired woman voices her uncertainty about this mysterious individual's abilities and his command over powerful knights. She worries about devils returning from other locations, urging the destruction of their gate for good. The dark-haired man pleads anxiously to join them, mentioning his younger siblings' involvement. Tension fills the dimly lit room. The girl with pink hair inquires about buffs and debuffs through words, leading to discussion of a fascinating experiment. Two identical onions are prepared. One receives loving words like, "I love you" and "you're beautiful," while the other endures hatred. The illustration shows the hopeful outcome of this love-and-hate onion experiment. The narration explains how the hated onion fails to sprout properly and spoils easily. A confused green onion character ponders with question marks overhead. But the scientific truth emerges. Onions cannot understand words or feel the difference between positive and negative speech. Environmental control matters more than emotional manipulation. The lively green plant wiggles animatedly in its pot as the red-haired girl playfully warns it not to get too excited. She calls it an ugly shrub, but notes how lively and pleasant it looks. The plant droops slightly at the insult while her male companion watches in disbelief, unable to believe this actually works. The red-haired woman shouts passionately into the microphone, calling the plants worthless and claiming their leaves smell like skunk farts. But glowing trees sprout rapidly beside her, thriving on her fierce encouragement. The black-haired observer watches in disbelief as the elder with pointed ears observes the spectacular contradiction between her words and their growth. The boy with short black hair beams with excitement. Finally, he presents the mechanical device to kill monsters while portal hopping. The conversation reveals his important meeting obligation, though his companion suspects he's dumping work on her. His defensive response emphasizes the crucial nature of discussing the knight's revival. Urgency and cooperation intertwine. The dark-haired man in his black coat points urgently, insisting this isn't about dumping work. It's about bringing the knights back to life. Shock ripples through his audience at this revelation. The scene shifts as "dumping work complete" flashes dramatically. In the strategy room, the bearded man proposes imbuing Camelot with new conditions for revival. The robust bearded man explains the complex activation process. Restructuring dark mass seals on Camelot requires enormous dark energy. His serious expression conveys the gravity. He cannot guarantee what new effects will emerge. The slender man looks perplexed as warnings about uncertain loyalty post-process fill the dimly lit conference room. The discussion continues around the long table as armored figures listen intently. Camelot must remain outside the parallel dimension during the irreversible process. The helmeted figure with glowing red eyes offers reassurance. It's all right. The younger man echoes this confidence, suggesting the worst-case scenario is unlikely and he'll be safe in the parallel dimension. The silver-armored figure with red eyes stands with grave solemnity. A voice offers gratitude under cloudy skies as a sleek dragon swoops toward a tower with a resounding thwack. The peaceful setting erupts in explosive chaos as debris flies everywhere. The girl with brown hair channels energy from her hands while another figure reacts in surprise. Ely, the girl with short brown hair, questions their progress. How many portals have they traversed? Her blonde companion estimates roughly 12 hours since departure. The concern mounts as Ely asks about the empty prisons. 5 hours since they noticed the pattern coinciding with reduced devil monster appearances. Growing unease fills the bright town square. The dark-haired young man confidently declares handling such matters isn't his job. He'll leave that to the smart ones. The helmeted figure politely apologizes for lacking answers, while the stylish man in his black suit shows surprise. Discussion shifts to camp estimates and capacities, hinting at significant numbers involved in this mysterious operation. Urgency explodes as the dark-haired man gesticulates frantically. They can't keep portal hopping and waiting for Paris to appear. The golden armored figure remains composed, while off-panel voices mention specters and immediate deployment. A helicopter's THWAP fills the air as a man in sunglasses focuses intently on the unfolding chaos. Yangsu's voice crackles through the helicopter communications, reporting a large group of Firmegans taking civilian hostages. The aircraft hovers over dark shapes in the town square below. Priority 1. Rescue civilians quickly. The silver-armored commander orders deployment of the Camelot Special Ops Unit as the rescue mission begins. The black-haired strategist's frustration peaks, no more waiting for Paris portals to randomly appear. The helicopter launches with dramatic force, rotor blades churning the air. A silver-armored glove tightens in preparation as combat-ready soldiers advance. The commanding voice cuts through the noise. Listen up. The final phase is about to begin. The blue-robed figure stands before ominous armored knights in the mist, his voice cutting through the silence. Time and control of mana circuits, a delicate procedure that could lead them to Camelot itself. The armored warriors listen with grim intensity as he warns them. They must not die during the process. Their consciousness depends on it. In the shadowed chamber, doubt creeps into their ranks. The skeletal warriors' glowing eyes pierce the darkness as voices question their loyalty. What happens when the modifications are complete? Will they still serve their master once removed from Camelot's influence? The uncertainty hangs heavy in the air like a curse waiting to unfold. Yangsu's urgent transmission crackles through the helicopter's speakers. Firmegans have taken civilian hostages. The armored commander's blue cape whips in the wind as deployment orders echo across the battlefield. Priority 1. Rescue the civilians quickly. The Camelot Special Ops Unit prepares for immediate action as the helicopter thunders toward danger. The bearded survivor peers through his binoculars as chaos erupts around him. A skull-masked warrior charges forward with tactical precision, his blade crackling with blue energy. Steel meets flesh with a vicious slash as shadows roar and strike. In this apocalyptic wasteland, every battle could be the last. The armored warrior spins with deadly grace, calling out to Percival as his blade sings through the air. Steel flashes with a metallic shing before finding its mark with a brutal slash. Blood sprays across the misty battlefield as the carnage unfolds. In war, there are no clean victories. The massive demon towers above the battlefield, his dark purple skin glistening with rage. Curved horns crown his fury as he releases a bone-chilling kraargh that echoes across the wasteland. Each thunderous stomp shakes the ground while the dark-armored warrior below prepares his gleaming weapon. David versus Goliath, but who will fall? Blood rains from the storm-torn sky as the cloaked warrior's blade erupts with supernatural energy. Crack echoes through the darkness as his sword connects with devastating force. Lightning illuminates his glowing eyes beneath the hood. Another slash splits the air, and crimson sprays paint the battlefield. Death has come calling. Blood spatters the ground with a wet splat as something heavy hits the earth. The battle-hardened woman emerges, gripping her mystical spear, the blessed devil predator +5. Her short brown hair frames a face marked by countless conflicts. The weapon gleams with dark enchantments, promising devastation for whatever lurks ahead. In the medieval town square, the dark-haired young man marvels at the spectacular weapon design. His companion reveals the truth. This +5 enchanted spear can kill even Silth-ranked monsters. The blue-cloaked figure urges caution, while the sharp-dressed woman confirms they've already saved every civilian. But is their firepower enough for what's coming? Confusion spreads as the gray-suited man learns they couldn't locate Miss Lydia's younger sibling in Dresden. The armored warrior's red-streaked helmet gleams ominously as he reports another disturbing fact. They couldn't find their gate either. Something doesn't add up. The realization hits like ice water. They bought time, but for what purpose? The confident young man grins as he reveals their trump card, the upgraded Holy Spear. Whatever those fiends are plotting doesn't matter now. Nothing can hide from this awesome weapon. Next stop, Paris. But as the jagged spear activates behind him, swirling with portal energy, his companion's shocked reaction suggests something unexpected is about to unfold. Frustration mounts as the force barrier proves too strong. Even their legendary spear can't break through. The determined woman in the tank top shouts at their hidden enemies, calling them cowards. The young man in military uniform joins her anger, demanding the devil stop hiding. But the metallic figure with glowing red eyes watches silently, its presence more threatening than any barrier. The scene shifts dramatically as the blue-haired armored figure stands before the Eiffel Tower, tension radiating from his stance. Red splatters stain the ground while an ominous "Du done" echoes through the air. A hulking creature lies broken and bloodied, confusion clouding his features as he struggles with his wounds. What battle has already been fought here? The armored warrior's mind reels with a shocking revelation. A devil from Firmegen has murdered its own kind. Internal conflict among the devils themselves. The undead creature's grotesque face emerges from the shadows, its monstrous expression promising only doom. If devils are turning on each other, what does that mean for the barrier's purpose? Stanley's face drains of color as the figure with glowing red eyes steps forward. The ICC's Director of Europe region, that's him, isn't it? The masked figure's helmet reflects no emotion as he confirms Stanley's identity with chilling certainty. In the plant-filled office, tension crackles like electricity. This meeting was expected, but by whom? In the dimly lit room, accusations fly like daggers. The well-dressed man in his beige suit accuses the white-haired cloaked figure of killing the Firmegens, but the hooded assassin dismisses the proposal as ridiculous, his cool demeanor more unsettling than any threat. Stanley gulps nervously as layers of manipulation begin to unravel before his eyes. The conversation turns to Camelot, an item created by the Inspection Bureau that must be retrieved personally. Stanley's worried expression deepens as he reveals his knowledge of the development project. But behind the bureaucratic facade lurks something far more sinister. The armored figure listens from the shadows, his presence a constant reminder of the stakes involved. Stanley's mind races with paranoid thoughts. Did this visitor really come for mere item regulation? His sponsorship of Firmegen weighs heavy on his conscience as sweat beads on his forehead. The armored figure tries to reassure him, but Stanley's confusion only deepens. What exactly does his mysterious guest want? Stanley's apprehension peaks as he stares into those glowing red eyes, asking about the figure's strange expression. The hooded authority extends his hand with a simple question: work together or not? Stanley's mood shifts instantly from fear to eager acceptance. Of course, but what dark alliance is he agreeing to? Purple energy swirls through the darkened space as the master plan unfolds. The shadowy figure declares their need for strength above all. They'll work with the Firmegens for now. The pale-haired accomplice grins wickedly as they discuss using humans afterward. An alert crackles through the air. A Europe representative is dead. The game has already begun. On the dimly lit street, Stanley holds a pulsing blue cube while admitting he can't figure out Camelot's significance. The armored figure warns they might have to fight the Inspection Bureau if things escalate further. Stanley's crossed arms and serious expression reveal the weight of their predicament. With so little information about the Bureau, they're walking blind into danger. The blue portal erupts with a thunderous FWOOM as shadowy figures emerge, a woman with flowing hair and a muscular man in a hat. Jeong-gyeom's pointed ears twitch as panic overtakes his elven features. He screams the warning that chills everyone to the bone. They're here. His companion's confusion turns to horror as the truth hits. The Barnaul dimension has arrived. The shimmering purple wave crashes as Stanley stares in bewilderment at the distant phenomenon. The green-haired girl in her twirling skirt observes with curious smugness, while the boy in the black jacket shields his eyes in disbelief. So that's Barnaul. It's smaller than expected, a pirate island without a home, but size means nothing when dealing with such dangerous entities. The group contemplates the gravity of Barnaul's arrival as the blonde girl in her elegant dress shows deep concern. The dark-haired man in gray attire remains serious while the armored figure radiates power. As they discuss the implications for their people in Burazi, one muscular warrior grins with violent anticipation. The ground-shaking stomp signals that confrontation is inevitable. The bearded elder holds his glowing green orb with confidence, reassuring Jeong-gyeom that he has nothing to worry about. These warriors have been waiting to face the dark mages who deserve a fate worse than death. The muscular fighters flex their determination as their leader speaks of sending enemies straight to hell with their bare fists. Physical strength built from managing pain, their greatest weapon. The green-robed elder commends the wise decision to set up camp at Elvedon, his beard framing words of reassurance. No one should worry about them. The young man in his sporty outfit raises his hand excitedly. Having the elder here is a huge boost. But as the blue portal erupts with another FWOOM, the intimidating armored figure steps through, questioning if they're truly in Barnaul. Stanley wrestles with an impossible dilemma. How can he tell his armored companion that he doesn't need to fight this time? The guardian-like figure in ornate armor understands the sensitivity of the topic, but insists they must prepare for the impending confrontation. Against the purple wave backdrop, their conversation carries the weight of life and death decisions. Some battles cannot be avoided. Near the white building, dark revelations unfold about the spirit conversion process. The cloaked figure with purple accessories explains with knowing intrigue how the never-ending loop deteriorates the mind. Blood and tears shed through the process enrich the spirit's power. As the men in gray listen intently, the disturbing truth about human weapons begins to surface. The cloaked figure speaks with grim resignation. Holy weapons cannot pierce the old defenses. But Sisyphus strides confidently toward the shimmering barrier, his blue armor gleaming with red accents. The imposing warrior's presence radiates power as he approaches the enemy's protection. Once he becomes a model, he can destroy all others. That's surely why they've erected this barrier. The silver-armored knight points toward the glowing background, declaring they can vanquish the vengeful spirit by destroying Sisyphus. The young man in the blue outfit considers the task. It shouldn't be too difficult. But what truly worries him are the knights themselves. His expression grows haunted as he wonders, what nightmare did they experience inside Sisyphus? Stanley pleads with Lancelot not to fight this time, his anxiety evident in every word. But the noble knight in his ornate armor refuses to stand idle. He actually wants to join this battle at all costs. Against the high-tech illuminated background, their conversation reveals the true horror. Something reduced a powerful knight to a mere specter. What force could accomplish such devastation? Before the iconic Eiffel Tower, the dark-haired man delivers his ultimatum: tell the truth or be trapped in a parallel dimension forever. The cloaked figure reflects on his cursed fate, expressing eternal gratitude for the salvation being offered. Not a single friend has escaped this nightmare. But when told, "Don't die," confusion clouds his features. What exactly is he being saved from? The exhausted cloaked figure admits his age is showing after 6 days and nights of non-stop work. Below, the team of men in matching blue outfits finally allows themselves to relax, their bushy-bearded companion acknowledging their well-deserved rest. But their break is interrupted by a dramatic announcement. The modifications to Camelot's mana circuits are complete. Magical energy erupts around the triumphant figure. The dark-haired young man stands with his mouth agape, uncertain how to respond to the revelation. The blonde-braided warrior and his 4 companions smile apologetically. They appreciate the hard work, but they've actually decided not to use whatever was prepared. In the ornate chamber, the mood shifts from triumph to bewilderment. After all that effort, they're walking away.